Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome back to the Sim Grid. And here we are on YouTube then for round 4 of the Pro Sprint Cup at the wonderful and very wet right now Brands Hatch. My name is Chaz Draycott, and alongside me in the booth this evening is Kyle Lawrence. Kyle, welcome to a rainy Brands Hatch, my friend. It's typical British weather for this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, as a South African looking at this, a British track, I kind of half expected it to be a wet race almost, just coming into it. But I'm quite glad it's wet. It does add a little bit of throw a bit of a spanner into the works, especially for the BOP and which cars would suit this circuit. So I think it does bring things a little bit closer together. We do have quite a few Porsches in this series, so I think the rain taking away a little bit of the advantage, hopefully. But I see the lone Lexus. We did see Macaulay doing very well in previous rounds in the Lexus in the wet, so I expect him to do the same here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, I've become a very, very big fan of that Lexus since its time in the GT3 homologation, and well, it's just a gorgeous car, really gorgeous car. So it's good to see that it has its specialties, and it does seem very planted in the wet, so it's always nice to see. But Niels van der Kokel was the fastest car in practice for Sidemax Motorworks, if the cameraman can even keep up with him. He's in the number 47 Aston Martin, which we've seen a lot of good things from the Aston Martins and the Porsches so far in the Sim Grid in all the different series that we've got, haven't we, Kyle?
Yeah, it seems to be the two most consistent brands out there in GT3 on this platform. But Niels van der Kokel a little bit outshined by his teammate Lucas Kreuzer throughout the series. It's nice to see him bring himself towards himself and get onto the front of free practice. He's goes across the line now to start his first hot lap here in this very, as you say, British weather. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do now in qualifying. One thing I have found with the ACC is trying to find the right tire pressures for the wet tires. It has eluded me, but I'm sure these gents are quite switched on when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never been good at setups. I've never had an idea at all on what to do with setups. So these guys already have an advantage over people like me straight away. In the championship, it's Christian Bianchi who is there in the Porsche Racing Line Motorsport. He leads the standings at the moment with 391 points over Matt Beavis with 276, and then 252 for Tinko van der Velde for Sidemax Motorworks. So we've got some great talent up there in the order. Matt Beavis, here he is in the other Porsche. So it's 3 Porsches at the moment, and well, we were saying beforehand, weren't we, Kyle, that it'd be nice to see someone dethroning these Porsches over the course of the season, but it just shows how competitive a car it is, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just here in ACC as well. IRL, the Porsches are probably the most popular and the longest standing GT3 vehicle in any of the homologation forms that we've had throughout GT3 racing. But I must hats off to Bianchi. He's been dominant throughout the series. Running. I don't think he's run outside the top 3 the entire championship. So he's been absolutely dominant, and it's been good to watch him do what he does. But the talent throughout this field is phenomenal. I mean, even in the wet, we've got the front 3 separated by 0.2 of a second. It's insane.
Yeah, I was just scanning down there to have a look, as Van der Velde goes top 1/10 of a second, with Cornacchia in 3rd place. Beavis goes into 6th place, just under 0.8 of a second off. So yeah, like I say, we've had some very, very close qualifying. Joe Macaulay goes top in the Lexus. We have said that Tech 1 racing machine is going to be the one to beat in the wet, and it's fantastic to see, and it's fantastic to listen to. I mean, it's just heaven. I have a proper man moment every time I go on board with this Lexus, because it's just a wonderful car. And I think it's a good looking car as well, because much like the M4 GT4 within the GT4 category, and very much like the Nissan GTR, it's one of those bigger coupes that it's almost like a saloon sized car, isn't it? But it shows you that it's not about the body size, or even the Bentley, they can still be very capable race cars, and I think it's probably one of the prettiest GT3 cars you can get, that Lexus.
Yeah, it's very much got more of a touring car look to it than it does a GT3. Excuse me. Very much a touring car look rather than a GT3. So I like the touring car looks. I mean, I'm the biggest BTCC and WTCR and DTM fan out there, but GT3 has grown on me in getting involved with ACC and racing GT3 and watching some of our South African boys as well worldwide doing great in the series. So I've been following it with interest of late, and it's starting to grow on me.
Yeah, it certainly is good. Very good indeed. Well, Lucas Cruiser is someone that's usually very strong in the SimGrid events that I've seen. He's in the 99 Sidemax Motorworks Porsche at the moment in 11th position. 1.2 seconds off. He has a moment out of clearways and then puts a wheel on the grass. And the car goes around very quickly. Seb Handler just going past. We were watching Seb last night in the More Female Racers series. He races in the Ginetta and does a great job in that car. He's been very quick in the second half of those races with his teammate as well, Ava Di Vandrada. And yes, that was indeed a commentator's curse. And if I'm honest, I've not had many of them in my time commentating for the SimGrid. It's not usually something that I've been flexing in this role, but we've seen it happen many a time, haven't we, Kyle? And it certainly won't be the last time.
Yeah, I think mine's a little bit more vicious than yours. Is the driver. I don't see him on the grid tonight, whose name I try and avoid saying, because the last few races that I have commentated on for the SimGrid, I have mentioned his name, and every time I do that, something happens to him. So I've been avoiding saying it, but luckily I don't see him on the list at the moment. One driver that I do expect to go quite well here is Prendergast. We saw him take a win in iffy conditions in I think it was the first round. So I do expect to see that Ferrari a little bit higher up in this round than what we did see previously. The Ferrari does tend to struggle a bit versus the rest of the field as a manufacturer. But Prendergast hasn't been doing badly, and it'll be interesting to see what he does in the wet with that Ferrari. Only 0.6 off, but 0.6 in split one here of the Pro Sprint Cup is massive.
Yeah, and it's only going to get more and more interesting. The season has now gone past its halfway point, so we're at round 4 out of 5 here. Next week is going to be a very interesting week because 2 weeks' time is going to be very interesting because we've got the final of the More Female Racers series, and then the day after we have the final of the Sprint Cup. So a very busy week for the SimGrid. This is the number 10 Ferrari of Comrade Gaming for Kieran Prendergast. He's currently 7th at the moment. He goes across the line. Does he improve? He does not. Last time round was a 2:18.0, so there must have been an outlap. And P11 at the moment, apparently it's a tie, but P1. Apologies, I read that wrong. Yes, P1. Identical times at the moment between Tinko van der Velde and Giorgio Cornacchia. That's incredible, and not even a tenth of a second separating those two, and third place as well. It's just incredible. I don't understand how they do it. And I mean, these guys are so close in terms of pace. I don't even know how many of them get to the pace these guys are at, Kyle. But to maintain it and get that close, that's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you expect it to dull down in the race, and you don't expect them to run as close as together as you do see them in qualifying. And some would have race pace, some only have qualifying pace, and that's what you would assume. Oh, big moment for Bianchi. Oh, what a catch that was. The driver behind actually got caught watching it and got sent off all by himself as well. So that moment just scaring both of the drivers there. But you'd expect them to fan out a bit in the race and people find different pace like you would in IRL or what I've seen in other series. But they just don't do it here in the Pro Sprint Cup. They all run nose to tail for pretty much the length of the race. And the race is done very, very quickly. I mean, Connell and I have been doing the last couple of rounds. He's high-pitched most of the event because it's just so close together. Well,
that's it. It's the excitement that we get in the endurance races compressed into a half-hour race, and it's so amazing to watch. We get this short qualifying session as well, just to lead up to it. And there is going to be ballast as well for the second session, as that innocent little bollard gets absolutely pelted into next week. We'll see that bollard at the final round of the championship, I'm sure. Here's Thibaut Probst at the moment. He's just circulating in the Audi in 5th place at the moment. He has the number 47 on circuit just ahead of him there. And that is Niels van der Kokel, who is the position behind him on the grid. So these two close together on track, albeit the other way around compared to where they are on the grid. Here's Marco Bischoff in the 777 Porsche, another Porsche on the grid. And we currently have 10 of them in the top 20. So well, I say the top 20. It is a 20-car field.
Some drivers choosing not to make the visit to Brands Hatch here in the UK. Maybe the weather just scared them off. So only 20 on the field. We're used to seeing close on 30. So a few people just skipping. Oh, massive moment for the Porsche there. What a catch from Marco. That corner is tricky for anybody. I mean, even just in the dry. And the Porsche seem to be struggling quite a bit with the rear end throughout the circuit with the conditions where they are, as I say it. So, whew. It's like watching a bit of Formula Drift here going around Brands Hatch.
It is, yeah, and it's not the most likely of drift cars either in the Porsche 911 GT3R. But what a fantastic view that we do have here. But it's Giorgio Cornacchia at the moment that is fastest, and he does improve, but it's only 18 thousandths of a second over Tinko van der Velde. That is still incredibly close, but the GTWR driver getting there. And of course, those guys in that team, they won the first round of the SimGrid World Cup in the Audi R8, and we saw an amazing drive by them, so good to see that Giorgio is representing the team this evening. We did get the tip that Joe McCauley would be fastest, but he's not managed that yet. But to be honest though, Kyle, 1/10 of a second off in the wet when, I mean, first to 18th is separated by 1.3. That's not bad going, is it?
I still can't believe the first to 18th is separated by 1.3 in the wet. Never mind the gaps up at the front. It's just... I mean, if you're in in any other series and you're a second off or 0.8 off in the weight, you're like, oh, not bad. I'll be in the top 10. Not here and split one of the Pro Sprint Cup. It's I'm a second off. Oh, you're outside the top 10, mate. Find some time, get it going. But Cornacchia in that Porsche does surprise me to be getting that thing to go around here as well as he does. But I did peg the Porsches to struggle in the weights, and we've got 2 on the front row.
Yeah, it just shows you the quality of the drivers, though, doesn't it? That they can wrestle the car around and get it up there in such a competitive manner. And again, it comes back to some of the teams that we do keep seeing on the sim grid that are right up there. And it's just a great show of force, I think. And the thing I love about this is the fact that we get to see them in a bit of a different discipline to the other championships that we've got, don't we? It's obviously shorter and more frantic, but if they're going to get the job done, they've got less opportunity to do it.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's not like they drive an endurance race like an endurance race. It's flat out from when the lights go out to when the flag comes out. They drive it like a sprint race regardless. But it's nice to see them have to be a little bit faster in making the decision to get a move done. You can't wait around or wait for a gap. You've got to get it done and get it finished off quite early. So it does add a nice dynamic to it. And the gaps don't form as big, so you don't end up with quite as big of a gap throughout the field. But again, just have a look at these lap times. It's now 1.1 second separating the top 15. It blows my mind every time. I talk about it every time we go into qualifying. With only 2 minutes left to go, it'll be interesting to see Joe McCauley on pole though in his Lexus, dethroning those Porsches as we hope he would.
Yeah, the big bus has done its job. Not Joe, the car. But Joe does it as well. That was the 99 just in front there, having a real moment. Lucas Cruiser struggling a little bit. We've got identical times for P4 now between Matt Beavis and Thibaut Probst. So those guys can't get any closer together. We've got 9 thousandths of a second separating Owen Wenlock and Emil Stanciu. So it's just incredibly close all the way down the order. 3 thousandths of a second separating Minotti and the driver behind him, Lucas Cruiser. Just trying to see if anyone else is any closer together. Lucas Cruiser has improved now, but he is now only 3 thousandths off Christian Bianchi in the other Porsche. So the times are incredible, absolutely incredible. We've got 2 drivers at the bottom though, Seb Handler and Alexander Draycott, that are slightly off the pace. That's a very pretty livery on that Porsche. They're a bit further off the pace at the moment, unfortunately, in 19th and 20th. But come the race though, we know that race pace can be very different, can't it, Kyle? Because some of these guys, they may not be as good on one lap, but when they're fighting with traffic, they really do come alive, don't they?
Yeah, it does help though to have another car in front of you, especially on a circuit you're unsure of, or in conditions you're unsure of, just to gauge your braking point and your throttle points. And 1 or 2 laps behind someone, especially in this level of competition, the level of driver and how quickly they can adapt is massive. So I do expect them to find some time and hopefully move themselves up the field. But weirdly, I've always sung the praises of Cruiser I call him the Cruiser because he always seems to cruise it into pole. in the last dying minutes, but of qualifying, or the last lap of qualifying. I don't see him doing that now, and it's quite strange to see him down in 11th. But in round one, in different conditions, he struggled as well. So maybe just not a fan of these sorts of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, as I saw in other events, and I mentioned previously, the wet weather really brings out a different bag of talent, and it's the phrase I've carried on using since that point, as Draycott unfortunately cannot get himself off the bottom of the pile there. Tinko van der Velde is out on his lap, but he's slower at the moment. People that are improving, let's have a look. Christian Bianchi improves and goes second, 84 thousandths off Joe McCauley. So he's done an absolute corker of a lap there. I'm just seeing Errol Verve, he's going to improve as well by the look of it. He's just coming round towards the end of a lap. Sebastian Handler, he improves but does not go up a position. And Errol Verve crosses the line. No such improvement for him. Not position-wise anyway. He improves on his lap but not on position. But yeah, another very close session there. But as expected from Michael, I know he's going to be... hate to say I told you so, but that was scary for Niels then. The Lexus has triumphed in the wet here then, Kyle.
Yeah, I was getting a bit nervous there because I called it in the beginning as well, and I was like, oh, Lex is going to be on pole. Good, Lex is going to dethrone Porsche. First part of qualifying, I was like, eat your words, mate. But it seems like he's got it done, 128.2, but not by much over the Porsches at all there.
Christian Bianchi here drifting the Porsche around. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. There will be a driver's briefing in just a moment, as you can see in the chat there. So what we're going to do now is just play two very, very quick adverts from the Coach Dave Academy and from Thrustmaster. Look at the drift in there. Oh, Bianchi drops it there in the drift. But we'll just play these adverts for you, just 2 seconds, and we'll get ready for the race session to begin. Here we go then. So, back on the grid, ready for another race under the Sim Grid banner here, Kyle. And, well, it's not a rare sight, really, to see the rain and Brantach and a crowd that don't seem to have any coats. And there's always that bloke that's wearing shorts as well out in the sun. I bet you're one of them, aren't you, being a South African? You love it.
Yeah, that'll be us. Out there in the... Look, if you think about it, if you're wearing long pants in the rain, all the pants get wet. If you wear shorts, you can just wipe your legs off and they're dry. That's how we think about it, and that's why we always wear shorts when it's raining in South Africa. Also, it only rains for all of 5 minutes here, so we are mostly sunny. I know you guys hate us because you only get half an hour of summer, but we get almost 12 months. Well, it is a bit different for us.
To be honest, at the moment we've had a crazy spell recently where it's been incredibly hot over the last few weeks, and then we had this almighty thunder and lightning storm from where I live, and it covered the sky, mate. It was very, very strange, but yeah, it seems we've had summer now. It's rained all day, so it's nice and dark outside again now. But yeah, there is let's just say a slight contrast between the weather, but it's all good. And at the end of the day, I think that the rain, it's just going to make this racing a little bit more interesting, isn't it? Or even more interesting, I should say.
Yeah, it's not like we need any more interesting to coming out of the Sprint Cup. It's been pretty hectic throughout this championship, but I think this just throws a whole nother spanner into the works. And it is going to be wet throughout the race. Last time we saw wet weather was only in the beginning of the race, which it did leave towards the end of it. But I think we're going to have a full wet race here. So it does throw a major spanner into the works, and I think McCauley is very excited to see the wet weather. We know that Lexus is very good in the wet. But Bianchi, once again, in the top 3. He's our championship leader. He hasn't finished outside the top 3 the entire championship, so all good and well for him.
Yeah, that's it.
What happens into turn 1? I mean, turn 1's tricky at the best of times. Turn 1 in the wet, completely different story.
Paddock Hill Bend is one of the scariest corners in the world, so to go in there trying to fight for your position in the wet is going to be very interesting. So, we've got Joe McCauley, pole position. Christian Bianchi, championship leader, second. alongside him on the front row, with Tinko van der Velde in third in the number 66 Porsche, followed by Giorgio Cornacchia. Fantastic racing driver name, if you ask me, for GTWR team. He's got, Tinko and Giorgio did actually just swap round there on my timing screen, it seems. Tinko van der Velde is fourth, despite them doing all of this that they're doing. Thibaut Probst is fifth, with Matt Beavis in sixth position in another Porsche. Niels van der Kokelp is in seventh position, the highest placed Aston Martin, with Kieran Prendergast in that number 10 black Ferrari. Keep an eye out for him. Boris Desprez, hopefully we won't lose him in Desprez, is in ninth position on the grid in the Porsche. The 777 Porsche of Marco Bischoff is in 10th place, with Lucas Cruiser in the number 99 just behind him. Then it's Owen Wenlock in 12th position, with Emil Stanciu in 13th. David Planiol 14th, with Pasquale Minotti in 15th place in another Porsche. Tim Troquet, number 288 Aston Martin, is in 16th. Errol Verve in the Audi R8 LMS is in 17th position, ahead of Jack Noller in the McLaren, with the other McLaren of Seb Handler just behind him. And then Alexander Draycott rounds out your 20-car field in another Porsche. So, Joe McCauley leading them to the line then here for this one, Kyle. Just a quick prediction there, mate. What do you think we're going to see as this race goes on? Only half an hour, this one.
Joe McCauley in the lone Lexus being chased by a bunch of Porsches. He must feel like he joined the wrong event. He feels like he's in a Porsche Super Cup race. But I think Joe McCauley's with that Lexus in the wet. He can keep it all together and all tidy. I think it's all his.
Here we go then. Time to get this round underway as they get ready then for half an hour round Brands Hatch in the wet. Sounds like a normal track day if you ask me. Plenty of Porsches though, like Kyle said. Joe McCauley is going to have to try and hold his ground here. They get to the line. The green light is on and they're away. The flag waves and the field sprints down to turn one. Giorgio Cornacchia. There's going to be a bit of contact there. I think, it's Van der Velde going down the inside of Bianchi. It's still not switched back around on my timing screen. There's cars off in the background. We've lost a couple there by the look of it. This is Niels van der Kokelp. He is down the inside of Matt Beavis in the Porsche. He makes that stick. Looking a bit further back to see if anyone's fallen off. We've also got two Porsches around there. I think that was Draycott. It was. Draycott's gone around. Let's see if we can just catch what happened to him. He's gone wide. Oh, there's cars around in front of him as well, and he gets backed into by the number 90 there on that one, Kyle. It was a bit of a shame. Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, just a little bit of a mess going in there off the apex, and we're just trying to get on the power a little bit too early or braking a little bit too late in the wet conditions, turning the car around, and unfortunately he was just a passenger in that one, trying to get one out the way and ended up getting tagged and turned around. But rejoined quite quickly. I don't think he lost too much time, but unfortunately Prendergast well down the order as well as Stancia after that start.
Yeah, I think he was one of the drivers that went off on the right-hand side as they came back up from Paddock Hill Bend. He's just ahead of Emil Stanciu in the number 23 car. You can see the damage to the splitter on that machine. We were just looking at Niels van der Kokelp, who's trying to get the better of Giorgio Cornacchia in the Porsche. And to be honest, I'm probably better off saying not in the Porsche because there's so many of them. As in the background, there is another battle with, guess what, two Porsches. Pasquale Minotti side by side. Oh, that was Bischoff. And he doesn't bish him off at the moment. And Minotti gets ahead in the 111 car. He will now go up into surely 9th position. He does, and there you go. There is the confirmation of that. A little bit sideways there into Paddock Hill Bend, but it's very tentative around that part of the track, isn't it, Kyle? And this is one of the most challenging parts about Brands Hatch, is the fact that the whole thing basically is a hill.
Yeah, so the rivers form quite quickly, and you get a bit of aquaplaning moments that would change and move around as you would in the IRL. I mean, the game does that. It does a very good job of simulating what would be standing water and what would be a running stream. Race cars not big fans of standing water or streams across the circuit, so can be caught out quite quickly. The visibility obviously also a problem, but the battles throughout, I mean, Cornacchia losing a bit of time already on that of Probst in the early stages. So the battles have already started to rage between all these drivers throughout this field.
Yeah, that's it. Probst is just trying to bring that Audi further up. I believe he started about 10th on the grid, so he's had a hell of a first lap as Van der Kokelp runs wide just behind. Scary moment there when you run wide at Sheen Curb. It's not an easy part of the circuit, but Joe McCauley leading this race at the moment and making that gap even bigger. You could see the two different approaches to clearways there. Thibaut turned in a little bit early, got an early apex, and then Christian Bianchi got a late one and got a hell of a slingshot off the corner. So he just can't quite keep up with the Porsche, and we know that the Porsche is fast out of the corners. It's got amazing traction, I've been told. There's a little bit of a wobble there by Thibaut. Car dances around a little bit as he gets to the bottom of the hill. Just behind him as well, Cornacchia is having to defend here from Van der Kokelt, but he needs to mind out as well because Matt Beavis wants to get in there as well. And same with Lucas Cruiser. He's just cruising up behind them at the moment. Like you say, he always is cruising, isn't he, Kyle? And at the moment, he's going to be watching this battle thinking, please, please, incident, maybe? It's like the Porsche Cup behind him, though. Look at this.
It's like that throughout the field. Everywhere you look, there's at least 2 or 3 of these Porsches together. The lone 2 McLarens, Lola and Handler, have at least separated the magnet on themselves. They've been together the whole of the series. Every time we look at one of them, the other one's not too far behind. But racing throughout the field, Tim Triquet looking for a way past. He's not using his usual British racing green on the Aston Martin today. It's got a bit of a blue tinge in it, but he's looking for rides too much. Got on the power and the back stepped out on him, so he's lost the place there. I think that's Planiol that's just gone past him. So yeah. Tim Triquet getting excited to get a move on Handler, and unfortunately handled himself off the circuit and lost the place.
Yeah, it looks like he needs a handler by the way he drives sometimes with the erraticness. But he's had a great start to this race, as Seb. You know, I take the mick, but he's done a great job, to be honest. And he's just got to hold this train off behind him. But looked like Tim Triquet got a bit excited about the fact he's got a new paint job on his Aston Martin, and he thought, oh, I'm like James Bond, it's all stealthy and black. But no, there was nothing stealthy about the fact he went off circuit, and there's certainly nothing stealthy about Planiol's car. Nola under pressure now from Draycott as well. No relation to me. They go around clearways. Paddock Hill Bend. I'm getting too excited. Draycott's getting excited. Whoa. He's going to put it in the wall. What happened there? I think he just dipped a wheel on the gravel on the outside. Let's have a look. Yes, he just gets on the Astro a bit, doesn't he? And it's that wheel on the gravel, just drags the left rear around. But he carries on, though. Not too much damage.
Yeah, a big jump for Draycott to get up into that fight. And like you said, when you're in the race, it's going to be a little bit different. But what was a 3-car train behind Handler has turned into an absolute freight train of cars. This is going to be a battle that's going to probably carry on throughout the last 24 minutes of this race. It just looks... you can't get a shot here because we're going downhill, but as we go uphill, you'll see the train of lights behind behind Handler and Planiol. And Handler needs to get a move on, otherwise he's going to be swamped by all of these cars.
Yeah, that's it. And I know that McLaren's a good car. I'm not sure how it behaves in the wet, but it doesn't look like that Handler could hold off all of these lot at the moment. But you know, he's had to get ahead of them, so you've got to think it's surely got the pace, or maybe he just took advantage on the first lap. Cornacchia and Probst are having a battle here with Van der Kokelt. This is getting even feistier. Cornacchia in the middle of this. He's got to look behind him. He's going to be Cornacchia'd after this, if he has to keep this up for the whole race. But Van der Kokelt looks a bit down the inside. He looks down the inside again. Yep, that was a bit of a slip there. The green paint will not help there, trust me, mate. When it's wet as well, it'll be even worse. Cornacchia, I know I've said his name in 3 different ways by now. Down through Graham Hill Bend through the left-hander. They want to be careful on that, on the sort of concrete blocks on the outside of that corner as well, don't they? A lot of the guys really getting on the power out of there. There's wet curb and wet concrete out there, so it's not nice to be sat on that on the best of days, is it?
Yeah, again, it's the standing water. I mean, you come off onto that Astro, you can't get on the power if you're on there, and I think that's what happened. He had to get out of it to avoid spinning the wheels up and turning himself around, like we watched who was it, Draycott do. He's unfortunately now a lap down at the back of the field, but we watched him just get on the power way too early on that Astro and spun him around. So Cornacchia doing a good job not to do that, but unfortunately losing a place to Van der Kokelt. Van der Kokelt now can get the charge on to get onto the back of Probst. So it does definitely look like that Aston Martin's got some serious pace here in the early parts of this race.
Yeah, that's it. And on Narati in the chat saying Cornacchia. That's how I thought it was saying. Me and Michael had a bit of a debate beforehand saying what precedes what, with it being a double C and then a H and an I as well. It's a bit of a mix of every type of Italian name you could get, really, because you could have Cornacchia, Cornacchia. I'm just going to call him the Italian. But he's trying to chase down Van der Kokelt, but like you say, Kyle, that Aston it just looks so consistent everywhere that we go. I've been told that the McLaren is not quick in the wet, so yeah, I can eat my words in saying that it looked good earlier. But this is the round of the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain by the look of it, chasing down Niels van der Kokelt at the moment. And he's going to hope that he can Niels van der Kokelt, because he wants to get away from this absolute pack. I'm sorry. Through Surtees. But I tell you what, it looks like he gets on the power really well out of there, actually. Opens up a little bit of breathing room. But it's probably not going to be enough to catch this gentleman. But props to Thibaut Probst, because he's holding that Audi very well at the moment. He started just on the outer fringes of the top 10.
Yeah, I think the wet weather, the Porsche's dominance in this series or in ACC has always been its acceleration off the corners, and that's how explosive it is away from the apex. The minute you wet the track, you take that away from the Porsche because it just can't get on the power. So I think that's why we see them. You can put the one lap in if you're nice and controlling on the power and you get your traction control settings right. But over the length of a race, Van der Velde was not far off Macaulay. He's now 1.6 seconds off now in the race. So, 3.9 seconds is the gap now. So it must just be difficult to get those Porsches going in the wet and consistently as well.
Yeah, when we were watching them in practice and in qualifying, they seemed to have, on the initial turn in into the corner, the rear seemed very happy. And one thing that Michael analysed for us before was the fact that it's quite a nervous car sometimes, and when you get used to driving it, if you've got a good set of hands behind the wheel of that car, then it really does behave itself and it's very quick. But Korniacki is really closed up onto Van der Kokelt here, and on the brakes he looked really good there, but didn't quite carry the same mid-corner speed. But he's got them queuing up behind him now. Joe Macaulay is still in this race, by the way, everybody. It may seem like he's in a bit of a different league at the moment, but we knew that Lexus would do well, and I'm going to be very, very happy to see that car get a win if he can manage it. We're a third of the way through the race. And Tinko van der Velde is still in second place. Christian Bianchi, championship leader, he is still in third in the Porsche. And then Probst is just in the background there in fourth. And then we've got the absolute train of Porsches, haven't we here, Kyle? I mean, we did say a moment ago there was a train, but we've literally, you can't see the rest of them, but there's actually 6 in a row here in the midfield.
Yeah, it seems like a magnet attached to them, because they all seem to end up together in every Pro Sprint Cup race we've had this season. But look, when there's that many of them in the grid, you can't expect them to clump up together and stick together throughout the race. But Van der Kokelt doing quite well to hold off this gaggle of Porsches. But you must think, if you're Bianchi, you can see Probst getting onto the back of you. I mean, he's closed that gap up considerably over the last couple of laps. You're in round 4. You're leading the championship with some gap. If Probst gets onto the back of you, do you fight him or do you let him go?
That's the thing. You've got to weigh up the opportunity, haven't you? It's a podium, but at the same time, like you say, championship lead. That is the long game that you're in for here. And if Probst manages to keep this pace up and starts to really put up a fight and go for some brave moves on Bianchi, then he could end up losing out, and not just losing one place, but losing an entire handful of points. As in the background there, Van der Kokelt and Korniacki get very close together. Korniacki doesn't quite try the cutback there that we quite often see up there into Hawthorne. And it looks like Van der Kokelt is struggling with that Aston Martin a little bit here. It's not behaving itself. Big pop of flame out the left-hand side as he goes up towards Sheen Curb. And behind as well, Beavis and Cruiser are just lining up behind. It looks like he's got enough in the mid-corner. It's just sometimes out of the corner. As I said before, that Porsche is very quick, and you can see the drivers dancing around on track, trying to keep these wet tyres cool. But at the moment, Korniacki just doesn't quite have the edge, as Van der Kokelt is off the edge at the moment. He's driving off the circuit to try and keep these tyres cool. I mean, I know that the grass is not the most abrasive surface, but wow, it's certainly a method, isn't it? That was a bit sideways.
Yeah, that Aston looked very settled, when I did mention that it looked a little bit more settled than the Porsches, but it seems to have gone away from him slightly. The back of the car all over the place. The Porsches can run much tighter than him, to the mid-apex and from the mid-apex, but he just seems to, struggle with the back end, especially from the mid-corner out. So maybe the rear tyres on that Aston Martin just starting to go away from him a bit. and he's going to have to be a bit more cautious on the power and on the exit of most corners, because that gain he had on the Porsche on the exit of that left-hander there seems to have gone away from him. So moves are definitely on. We've got 2 or 3 slipstreams happening down the straight here into the right-hander, but it doesn't look like anybody's going to be making a move just yet.
We're on board now with Matt Beavis, who is right in the thick of this fight. He's got a Porsche ahead and a Porsche behind, so he needs to keep his wits about him if he's going to make any progress in this race. Props, by the way, is now right onto the back of Bianchi in the Audi, so he's really starting to fly here. And Christian needs to keep an eye on his mirrors. The 2 McLarens were right together a moment ago, Kyle, but it looks like we've had Handler drop back a little bit here, and he's now having to defend from Emil Stanciu in the Porsche. But I was just about to say a moment ago the McLarens had magnetised back together, but apparently not. And here's your race leader, Joe McCauley. It's a bit of a Sunday drive for him, but on a Thursday at the moment.
Yeah, lonely Sunday morning for him. Just taking it nice and easy out there. Keep it nice and tidy. Keep growing that gap. I mean, it's up to 5.8 seconds now. That's not a usual sight in a Pro Sprint Cup race or any that I've watched. But the Lexus, we did say, is very well suited for the wet weather. It's not a bad car in the dry either. We make it sound like this car isn't fast in the dry, but it is a little bit more suited towards the wet weather, and does do quite well at Brands and as well at Brands in the wet, as he is showing at the moment. But I love the way they've mounted that wing on this car. It's so gorgeous.
I did see these sort of the wing mounts where they go over the top of the actual wing plate originally, and I thought that's very strange. I think one of the first cars I saw it on, strangely, was the Astra TCR car, or the Opel Astra that it was at the time, and they had a very, very long hook on it as well. And I think it was, did the old Jaguar, I think the old Jaguar GT2 car had it as well, as Christian Bianchi tries a bit of lawn mowing. But it grows on you, it definitely does, and it looks very good on the Audi R8s as well, as you can see there. They've got like, it almost looks like a metallic hook sort of design. I mean, I know they are all metal, of course, but it looks metallic in terms of its shape and design. It looks very very machined, and I can't think of any other more descriptive words. A little bit of a slide down Paddock Hill Bend there, a little bit of gravel on the exit, but still no changes within these top few. But Matt Beavis has now got Lucas Cruiser right behind him. They're almost splitting off in pairs, because look, Minotti's got Bischoff right behind him as well there, with Boris Desprez in 11th position. So they're picking their dancing partners at the moment, but not too much dancing going on, especially not rain dancing.
Yeah, it is difficult to pass in ACC and on Brands, but even more so in conditions like this. So the guys just want to take it easy, try and score the points. It is round 4. We are heading towards the end of this race. But Kreuzer going to be looking for as many points as he can. He's had some shocker events throughout the championship, so I expect him to be a little bit more aggressive than the rest. But they are going 2x2, enjoying Noah's Ark at the moment, and splitting off into pairs. But Kreuzer definitely looking like he's got a bit of pace towards the end here.
Yeah, that's it. He manages to look after his tyres, doesn't he, by the look of it? You mentioned Noah's Ark, though. If it carries on raining like it is, they'll actually need it, to be honest. It's not letting up, and it's not scheduled to either. So we've got 13 and a half minutes left to go in the race. We are over halfway, as you would have heard not too long ago. And it's Porsche, Lexus at the moment. Or, well, Lexus, Porsche. And the odd Audi and Aston Martin, of course. But, yeah, mainly Porsches as things stand. Where is Tinko in the championship, Tristan says. He's third in the championship on 252 points. But as Michael has said, Christian Bianchi could win the championship tonight if the results go his way. And if you're going to win a championship, it's very much a mind game, isn't it, to really drill the message home to your competitors that you don't need the entire length of the championship to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a Hamilton move, that get it done before the end of the end of the championship, before the last round. But he's just been so consistent. He's been a consistent winner, a consistent podium finisher. And I mean, we saw Props getting onto the back of him rather quickly, and he just decided to hammer down some. And I'm going to grow that gap again. It seems like he can just switch on the pace whenever he feels like it. So definitely a dominant performance from Bianchi.
Yeah, he's doing a smashing job in the championship. It may not be going all of his way at the moment, but that's That's pretty mega, to be honest. The fact that he's managed to open up that gap. This is his nearest championship rival, Matt Beavis, in the number 5 Team Rookie Monsters Porsche. Currently 7th at the moment in his own little space on the circuit. He's managed to open up the gap to Lucas Cruiser, but he's not going to be reeling in Bianchi in the championship as things stand in this race at the moment. It's close between Noller and Prendergast. Prendergast just chasing him down in the Ferrari. Two of the more interesting sounding cars on the grid. They've both got this sort of mid-ranged sort of drone rather than a roar or a scream like any of the other cars, but they certainly do sound good as Prendergast looks down the inside in the Ferrari 488 GT3. Manages to get his nose down the inside, and can Noller defend around the outside into Paddock Hill Bend? I think not. Prendergast gets sideways across the front of him, maybe a little bit of a kiss there, but nothing doing for Noller's defence. And Prendergast gets through, and it's a shame that, because I'm a humongous fan of how both of these cars look, but I think I slightly prefer the McLaren. It's just that rear end, it just looks so aggressive, but I was never a fan of the arches and the way they sort of hang off. It looks a bit strange, and the front end looks a bit rushed with the very basic grille shape, but it's a car that works, isn't it? You know, it's got a very pointy front end when you drive it.
Yeah, it's very much function over form. I mean, Bruce McLaren always been one for that, and they've carried it on throughout the history of McLaren. So, it is I've noticed, or I've found as a driver, most of these cars are very understeery, but that McLaren, pointed and it goes. I haven't been able to make it go fast, but in any case, I haven't been made to go any of these cars. I haven't been able to make any of these cars go fast. So, it's not the car, it's definitely me. But I am a fan of the Porsche, as so many people are, but it does tend to bite you when you try and drive it too fast.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of those cars where you can drive it easily, but when you try and get some pace out of it, it's a real animal. And I've heard similar-ish things about the Lexus as well. You know, you can chuck the Lexus about, but if you really want to have it on a quick setup, it does get a bit, let's just say, unfriendly. But 9-second lead at the moment for Joe McCauley. That car is exactly how he wants it to be in these wet conditions, and it sounds absolutely awesome. Really does. Tinko van der Velde, 9 seconds back in the Side Max Motorworks Porsche, but he'll be happy for a lot of championship points, as will Christian Bianchi in 3rd place. And you've got props. You can hear that Audi for miles as it screams down Pilgrim's Drop up towards Hawthorne, now into Westfield. Probably the best sounding car in the sim, I must say. We'll go on board for a second just so we can have a moment. But speaking of having a moment, Christian Bianchi was right out of shape in front then. He was all over the place.
Yeah, but we have seen from Christian Bianchi his drifting skills. We saw it at the end of qualifying. We saw it at all, but it's getting really untidy for him. I don't think that's intentional at all. But we did see his drift skills at the end of the last round and throughout qualifying. So if anybody can catch a car going sideways in this field, it's Bianchi, as he does it again on the exit there. So just allowing the tail to do what it needs to do for him to finish out a lap quickly. But you have to think and wonder, you know, Bianchi had pace and qualify.
Oh, that's too much.
I can't. It's actually. Oof. You're leading the championship, mate. Just calm it down. You got a gap. Relax. Keep it tidy. Keep it tidy. But clearly he's not listening to me because he gets out again. So props closing that gap down nicely after that mistake from Bianchi as he throws it out again through there.
It's all over the place. It's just dancing in the wet, this car. It's just showing you that, as I was saying before, on the original turn-in, the initial turn-in I should say, the car just wants to get sideways and then he has to just control it with steering lock and a lack of throttle through the corner, and Probst is reeling him in now. It's under a second. And then behind them we've got Van der Kokelt and Cornacier as well. So these guys will be smelling blood in the water as things stand and thinking, right, let's go after Bianchi for this final podium spot and just hope that Thibaut doesn't get there first. But this is pretty impressive stuff from these guys at the moment. And it's great to see once again that even over a shorter half-hour race that the pace can really open and close up between these drivers. It does develop over the course of a race. I mean, one of the beauties of endurance racing is that you get such different pace from everybody at different parts of the race, and you still get that within a half-hour race here.
Yeah, I think with this quality of grid, you probably have it in a 10-lap race as well. So the guys are just able to switch on that quali lap when they need to, or you know, control a gap or look for time when they want to catch the driver in front. So it is interesting to see the yo-yo effect that does happen over in half an hour, and as you say, over an endurance race. Obviously, we see more of it over an endurance race.
I'm just looking. Sorry, I was just looking back at Display just to see what the situation was with an incident that there was between the three of them. Michael just made me aware of that. I just tried to have a look back and see whether we could go far enough back to see it, but I'm afraid not. It was the 777 and 111 ahead of him as well, with Minotti and Bischoff, as Bischoff going down the inside of Minotti there. And the three of them then obviously getting away with that. But at the moment, the battle is still going on, and he's not really got rid of Minotti that quickly. And now he's got Display behind him as well, but there is no spray. So he's got nothing to hide in at the moment as Boris. Virtual drive is by TX3 Machine. They're having a great scrap in the midfield here. We'll go on board with him, see how it looks from the dashboard of his 911 GT3R.
Oh, lunge.
Oh, I thought he was going to go for it then, but no. Oh, he's actually... That means that Minotti's gone wide. The pressure works for Display, and he now goes up into 10th position, Kyle. That was nice mind games there.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to give it a lunge down the inside, and I think Minotti was getting a little bit nervous of it, and he's actually dropped into the clutches of Planiol as they head now into the right hand. He's going to go to offensive. He opens the door again. It's not really the place to have a lunge.
He's gone deep.
Especially on the, and he's gone deep again. So pressure just getting to him. They're a little bit unsettled. He needs to settle down and find his rhythm again, and maybe try and claw back some of these places he's lost over a lap. 3 places in 1 lap. It's not the best of going, is it? No,
definitely not. Tim Troquet is going to be in on this as well now. He wants another position out of this race. Into Druids they go, very slow right-hander. Very difficult corner as well, because the grip comes away from you as you get over the apex, because it just sort of gets to the top of the hill and back down. When you get on the power on the exit, you've got a different amount of grip than you had on the way into the corner, so it's a very, very strange place to try and get your moves done. He's just showing his nose a little bit there, is Troquet, and we've got Minotti's got a 10-second penalty in this one. That's very interesting to see. See whether Michael gives us any info on that. Bianchi and Probst, and then Van der Kokel and Kornacki are still all slightly spread out, but they're giving it a go. Oh, that was a big cut there by Van der Kokel. Oh, it was never mind a cut. Kornacki has decided that he wants to go to the beach in the background. It's not the weather for it, mate. Wait for a better day. But he recovers well. No major issues there, but it's those little incidents that can just ruin a race, isn't it? That, well, if the car goes around, that is, but he did all right there to not lose out too much.
Yeah, I think it started going around with him as he turned it in and just straightened it out to get it to stop that movement, and unfortunately had to put it into the grass when he straightened it up. But a great catch nonetheless, and he doesn't lose any places, but he does lose a load amount of time on Van der Kokel and Probst. I wonder if that's going to turn into a battle for position there.
Sorry, mate, we've had a crash between Display and Planiol, and there was damage to Planiol's car. What happens here? Oh, Display looks like it's going around. Oh, Planiol's on the right. Display comes back over. The two of them go into the wall. They both somehow miss the traffic behind. Oh, what a dodge that was by Prendergast. I don't know how he missed that there, because when the car's going one way across the track and then it suddenly gets going again and goes the other way, that's one of the scariest moments that you can have in a race, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't quite know which places to pick it. Yeah, do I go left? Do I go right? But an unfortunate incident that. I don't think anybody was to blame there. There's one driver trying to get his car collected and the other trying to find space on the track. But great dodging skills there from Prendergast. And what a drive to get himself back up to 12th. He dropped well down the order in the beginning. I think he was down in 19th place at one stage. Yeah. And he's managed to move himself up just outside the top 10. So another massive drive from him to find that time and find those places. But Minotti also having unfortunately dropping down the order and be given a 10-second runs wide again, the same place as we saw before. So that's Porsche not quite behaving on those rather tired wets. And Prendergast may find himself gaining another position very shortly.
Yeah, indeed. I think Prendergast will be all over the back of him before long. He's shown that he's got good pace so far in the number 10 Ferrari. And yeah, look at that there from Minotti. Just ahead, running wide again. And out of the final corner, Prendergast might even have him down to turn 1 here at Paddock Hill Bend. He's having a look, but he doesn't commit to it yet. Maybe not quite close enough to get that done. Oh, but he's gone wide again. Is Minotti something not really working on that car right now? although it's car 111 and he was P11, so it was all the number ones, but who is number one at the moment is Joe McCauley, and, well, rightly so, for Tech 1 Racing in P1, 18 laps in car 18, 2 minutes to go in this race, Kyle, and he's got a 13.6 second lead. He's looking a little bit untouchable.
Yeah, just a little. I don't think anybody's close enough to him to have a go, but he has the battle I thought was going to rage till the end of the race, and it's getting very, very close with only a minute left to run, so probably only 2 laps left of this race to go. And this is starting to hot up. Oh, they're all over the place. All of them are. So dancing around, sort of reminiscent of a bit of Senna style there between all 3 of these cars. Looking very untidy, but still very fast. But this is going to rage right down to the final lap. You see Props get right into the back of Bianchi there. Down. But just a little bit too much gas, and the back steps out. And now you're under pressure from Van der Koekout. So you were looking at a move on the Porsche, and now you're looking to defend the Aston Martin. So this is very interesting to watch.
It is, as they all go down Paddock Hill Bend, giving it as much as they can, trying not to get too much curb on the exit. Onto the brakes they go round Druids. Very, very quick right-hander is going to be one of the pivotal moments of this lap. Hawthorne will be the one. Out through Graham Hill Bend, though, he gets a really good run, does Probst. But again, that Porsche just carries so much traction out of the corner. Here we go to Surtees then, and this is where Probst needs to line it up for Hawthorne. The corner I just mentioned, the fast right-hander. But look at that, he's lost so much time to Bianchi. Bianchi just driving away on the exit of Surtees. That's pretty incredible, really. And the gap has opened up between the 3 of them again.
Yeah, it actually looked like Probst made a mistake going into the left-hander there before the straight. So he lost a bit on Bianchi, but he's caught it all back up now on 2 braking points. But these cars are dancing all over the place in this closing stage of this race.
Yeah, Van der Koekout showing us that there as well. Joe McCauley has just started the final lap of the race. Look how far ahead he is at the moment. Absolutely disgusting from Joe McCauley, but brilliant all the same. It's great to see this Lexus doing well in the conditions that it is known for being quick in the rain. And Tinko van der Velde, he's had a bit of a lonely race, but in all fairness, he's doing a smashing job as things stand. Down the bottom of the hill. That Porsche very clean, very tidy at the moment, but we'll look back at this battle for 3rd place for the remainder of the lap until we go back to Joe McCauley, because this has got a really good recipe behind it. All the cars wobbling and dancing down the bottom of the hill, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough for Probst to do anything here, because we've not seen many mistakes from Bianchi. I know he's been hanging the back end out, Kyle, but he seems to be very much in control of this battle now. As I say that, there's the commentator's curse. There it is.
I'm sure you just mentioned it doesn't happen to you all that often, but clearly twice in one night. Prove me wrong, why don't you? But it does definitely look like he does look more comfortable with the back end of that car all over the place, but it's not resulting in fast for him at the moment, because that Audi are very, very close to him at the moment. Not looking for the slipstream, which was weird. I found that very strange, not following the Porsche over to the inside of the track. So I found that move, that decision a little bit strange. As the back of the Porsche steps out, he's lost more exit speed to the Audi, and now this is where it's going to get hairy for the 2 of them. The Audi gets a good drive on the way out, but so does the Porsche, as Joe McCauley comes across the line to claim a very dominant victory in this the Pro Sprint Cup.
Yeah, that was he did it that quickly. I completely forgot how much further around the lap he was. An amazing difference. So Tinko van der Velde is going to take 2nd position. Great finish for him. 16 seconds off the leader, but into the final corner. It looks like Probst isn't going to be able to do enough. And a great drive from all 3 of these guys. They gave it everything, but it's Christian Bianchi, championship leader, taking another podium in the SimGrid Pro Sprint Cup. Great stuff by Van der Koekout in 5th and Probst in 4th. Matt Beavis stays ahead of Lucas Cruiser to finish 6th, with Cruiser in 7th. And then Bischoff is going to finish 8th with Prendergast. Look at the gap that he gained back on him there. Prendergast is definitely going to be one to watch for this 2nd race of the night, isn't he, Kyle? That was a great performance despite that incident at the start.
Yeah, an absolutely stunning drive to come from 18th or 19th place up into the top 9, just ahead of top 10, just ahead of Tim Triquet and Stancio. Stancio also down there with Prendergast in the start. I think they were involved in the incident together. So Stancio doing well to get himself up into the 11th. It's Nolan and Handler together again over the line in the 2 McLarens. So the magnet got reworked. And I think that is at Draycott. No, Draycott a lap down, Unfortunately, just finishing behind them. But he had a bit of an interesting race there. And Desprez down in 16th place. That's not where we saw him earlier.
Yeah, I think he had another issue as he chucks it at the scenery and hits the number 10 Ferrari of Prendergast there. And luckily, these are not the real cars, so you don't have to pay a lot of money to repair them. But what we're going to do then, just while the drivers will now have a 15-minute warm-up session, but just before that, we're going to have a very, very quick advert break, and then we will have some wonderful shots for you all as the session gets going. Then into the rest. Apologies. There you go. You can see now just where the drivers are out on the circuit, and you can see some of them coming in the pit lane. You can hear the pits as well. The siren kicking off there. But as they sit in the wet though, Kyle, I mean, this second race, it's going to get even wetter, isn't it? So it's going to be even more focusing for these guys.
Yeah, I don't know if the rules still remains the same, that the tyres they use in this practice, the tyres are going to have to carry through to qualifying. So I don't know if you're going to see a lot of people going out for this quick 5-minuter. I mean, sorry, the warm-up. I could be completely mistaken. But the wet is something that throws a massive spanner into the works and changes up the grid. But the people it hasn't really affected is that of Bianchi.
Yeah, that's it. And don't forget as well, we're going to have, for this second qualifying session, we are going to have ballast. So the top 3 get ballast. P1 gets 20 kilos, P2 gets 15, and P3 gets 10. So it's not the biggest amount of ballast that you'll see in motorsport. However, it's enough to just have that little bit of a balancing effect on some of these cars. But what we're going to do, we'll just play some quick adverts for you, and then we will just have a quick break from comms. But we'll leave you with the pictures still, so you can at least see what's going on circuit. So just bear with me 2 seconds, and we will be right back. Don't forget the Coach Dave Academy and Thrustmaster partners of the SimGrid doing a hell of a lot to support the SimGrid and all of the championships that it runs as well. And we've just got the rain still tumbling down here as the drivers get ready for the next session to begin. And as you can see on the right hand side there is a schedule up here. You probably can't see my mouse. You can see my mouse, so there you go. You've got free practice 2 coming up, then we've got qualifying, and then race 2. So we've got 15-minute sessions for each. What do you think of the ballast, Kyle? Do you think it's going to make much of a difference to these guys, or do you think that because of the conditions it'll be a bit more of a level playing field?
Myself and Connell have argued this before every one of these heats, and we expect it to make a massive difference, but these aliens seem to find a way to get the setup to work and to negate that the additive of ballast. But again, in the wet, I don't think it's going to be as critical as what it would be in the dry. You're not having to stop the car as hard as what you would in the dry, and accelerate it as hard as you would in the dry. And in fact, a bit of weight in the car might help it off the corners in conditions like this. So I think the weather versus their setup and how good they are with it will negate most of the disadvantage of carrying ballast like they are.
Yeah, that's true. And just having word that there may be a little bit of an issue with the server. It just won't go over to the next session. And because of the in-game time, it would then have to be 5 PM. So we'd have 20 minutes wait before then a 15-minute session before it actually skips over. But you can advance it to that time of day usually. So Michael's working tirelessly in the background, so thank you as always to Michael Hamlet for doing what he does and providing us with all of the information throughout.
Sorry, Chaz, I'm actually just here on comms with you very quickly. So what happened was there's meant to be a 1 minute, not 1 minute. It's meant to be like a couple of minutes overtime. So it skips then from the finished race 1, go to practice 2. They input the time incorrectly. So it's putting it as a instead of a 1 minute timer, it's doing it as a 10-minute.
I see.
Because Jim put it in seconds, so they accidentally put an extra 0 in, so put in 600 seconds, not 60. So what they're going to do is this timer is just going to have to run out. This 10-minute timer, it will then go to free practice 2, and then they'll just skip it to qualifying pretty much straight away to keep on time. So we'll be going into qualifying as soon as we can.
Okie dokie then. Well, there you go. You heard it directly from Michael himself, and we will get things back underway in just a moment's time for you. But if you just give us a few minutes, then just while this ticks over, then we'll just take a very quick break from the comms, and then we'll be very, very quickly back with you, and then we will have the second race underway. So stay where you are. We'll be back with you in just a few. Okay, welcome back then everybody. Here we are for qualifying for the second race of the evening here on the sim grid. My name is Chaz Draycott. Alongside me in the booth is Kyle Lawrence. Kyle, it's still raining. It's still British weather out there, mate.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it stopped any time throughout the wait, but I think we saw a lot of 2x2 action in race 1, so I think Noah's Ark is getting ready to join us. I can't believe that there's no dams on the outside of these corners.
No, yeah, it's pretty crazy to be fair. And I'm really excited to see if there's any different results thrown up by this one. And over the course of an evening when you've got two different races, I think it's part of the excitement that you can get two completely different results thrown up by something like this. So I'm excited to see what this one throws up for us then. But looking at Tinko van der Velde at the moment, and he's doing a brilliant job in that Porsche so far. He was happy with 5th place after that first race. I'm sure if he can do the same again this time round, he'll be even happier, because there's a little bit more standing water on the circuit, it seems. It looks a lot wetter than before. Obviously the cars haven't been out on circuit for a bit, so a bit more water has made its way onto the track. The dry line has gone slightly. You'll still see it in some of the corners. We've got to keep an eye on our race 1 winner, haven't we? Joe McCauley, you can see him going offline there to cool the tyres where he can. And that Lexus looked untouchable in the first one, and now he's got 20 kilos of ballast on board. It could be slowed down a bit, but I don't think it'll slow it up that much.
Yeah, look, it was quite surprising to see how close everybody was in quali, and then just see him run rampant on the rest of the field and disappear off into the distance. So I don't think qualifying pace is going to be one to gauge this on. But a man that I'm interested to see how he goes is Kieran Prendergast. He had a bit of bad luck in the first race, but it did look like he found some pace here and got comfortable in the wet weather around Brands. So it'll be interesting if he can bring that pace over from race 1 to qualifying, and hopefully we see him start a little bit further up the order.
Yeah, sure. And he was a joy to keep an eye on in that one, because he was just, every time we came back to him, he'd made a move on someone else and gained an extra position. So he is definitely one to keep an eye on here as well. We've got a couple of cars, one car still in the pits is Thibaut Props. We've got Christian Bianchi out on track. Owen Wenlock had a DNF in that last race for Side Max Motorworks, so he lost a lot of points in the championship. Well, he didn't lose them as such, he just didn't get any. He was throwing away a lot of points with the DNF there, unfortunately, so hopefully he has a better race 2. Here is Seb Handler in one of the 2 blue McLarens on track. Grip Hacks Engineering, well, he's going to need that sponsorship, isn't he, by the end of this evening. The other one, of course, Jack Noller in the metallic, beautiful GT Omega RPM Esports colour scheme. And it's almost like the 2Cs Motorsports McLaren, isn't it, Kyle, with the metallic blue on it? It looks really good.
I keep mentioning how much I love that aspect of ACC and how you've got the different colours to choose from, not only in terms of the colour palette, but also in the finish of it. So you can go metallic, matte, chrome. So it does add a whole new dynamic to just the livery. You're not just changing the colours on the car. You can actually change the finish itself. So it does give us some exciting liveries, even though most of them are set as a base and you can only change colours, and that it does change the look of the car quite dramatically. Yeah,
that's it. It's still nice and easy to differentiate for us on who's who a lot of the time, even though they're not the exact liveries that some of these guys do have when they have custom liveries on there. But even still, we get to notice some. I mean, the Side Max Motorworks team, they always go for the black and red with little highlights on. I mean, we've got Tinko van der Velde second at the moment by 0.2 of a second to Joe McCauley, but he's obviously got his teammate Lucas Cruiser in one of the other Side Max Motorworks cars, his black and red as well, but without the white highlights. Tim Troquet back out there for this one. He was a little bit under the radar in race 1, but still strong performance from him. So I'm hoping to see more of the same from Tim, because Redline Zach Racing will be spurring him on, I'm sure, as Van der Velde is now second, Van der Kokel is third, Prendergast is up to 4th place in the Ferrari, Cruiser 5th, and then Cornacchia in the Porsche is 6th. He is improving, though, by quite a lot on this lap by the look of it. This may put him into 3rd place, potentially. It does. There he goes, 45 thousandths between the top two. Cornacchia goes third. Who else is improving? Matt Beavis is 7 tenths up on his personal best so far. Marcus Bischoff is 2.8 seconds up on his best. So we'll keep an eye on Bischoff. He's coming around to the final corner, goes offline slightly just to cool the tyres a bit, ready for the last corner. Turns it in, gets on the throttle. He's 4 seconds off at the moment though, so it's going to be one hell of an improvement. He just gets it over 3 seconds better, and he goes into fourth with a 1:29.421. And we'll keep an eye as well on, I'll tell you what actually, Draycott is improving. But it's interesting, we get to see the deltas of some of these drivers, don't we? The fact that they are going to improve. Beavis is now fourth on the grid as things stand. But this is it now. You get very little time to get those laps in, don't you? You're under a lot of pressure here to make sure that you improve. That was Draycott off the circuit. Have a quick look at what's happened to Draycott. That's just the end of the incident, unfortunately. But it's easy to lose it round there, isn't it?
I think it's easier to lose it anywhere in a Porsche, in the wet, in any circuit, in any circumstance. But that particular part of the circuit is probably the easiest way to turn a car around. But Draycott making a big improvement from race 1's qualifying to now. He's already only 1.9 seconds off. I think he only ended 1.9 seconds off in quali 1. So he's definitely got his head wrapped around this wet circuit. So it'll be nice to see him get even more improvement now as he starts another flying lap. But it's crazy how quickly these tyres change and the lap times change. I mean, Macaulay quickly set at 128.6. He's now just done a 128.3. But when we last looked at Prendergast, he was up into 6th or 5th. He's all the way down at 13th, 1.2 seconds off now. So yeah, the times, obviously the wet tyres take a little bit of time to get going, and then the temperatures to get up to speed. So I think we'll only see the guys set their fastest laps on their second or third lap in quali.
Yeah, that's it. Even though they are made to be, obviously every tyre is made so it's not overheated as such. You don't want to ruin the tyre, but wet tyres, once the track starts drying out, they do become very sensitive to it. And I think that these drivers just have to get that. It takes a little bit longer to get the temperature into them, doesn't it? So they need to just work them in over those first few laps. Even around Hawthorne, though, that's some serious pace from Draycott in the Herberth Motorsport car into Westfield, the right-hander. It's always difficult, Westfield, because it's very bumpy. It's a blind apex, and you can't always see the run-off on the exit either. So you've got to just take chances and turn it in. Same with Sheen Curve. Now on the brakes into Stirling. The camber comes towards you here, so it gives you a false sense of grip. There's plenty of runoff on the exit. A lot of wet curb for him to use there. Slightly down the hill into clearways. Again, over a crest, so the grip just goes away from you, and he's run wide and he's on the grass. That's not going to help his run out the final corner. And I think, yeah, he was actually slightly up on his time there, but now he's lost out a little bit. Seb Handler, he's 4 tenths up on his lap. Prendergast is currently 4 tenths up on his time as well. Bianchi is 3 tenths up. So these drivers getting the improvements in, but it can only take one corner, can't it, Kyle, to completely ruin a lap, and that's it.
No, it also only takes one corner to completely fix a lap as well. So there might be a corner where you're struggling a bit for some pace, and it could be in, for instance, the last corner you might be going too fast, not able to get the power. But it also takes just one small mistake. It's turning a little bit too early, get on the power a little bit too early, and your lap's game over. But Sebastian Handler, I think he did improve there.
Oh, watch this. Watch this from Prendergast. Right up there into 5th place. He was 6 tenths quicker that time round. What a great time that is. Brilliant improvement from him, and he knows it, so he just chucks it in the wall in celebration. Draycott is 1 tenth up at the moment. So is Joe Macaulay, actually. Joe Macaulay improving. Van der Kokelt 2 tenths up as he goes around the final corner, clips the grass. The car's very sideways, and he's lost all of that time. He's not going to improve. Oh, that again just shows you how quickly a lap can go away from you, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit of a too eager on the power, or not enough steering input on the exit, and that's it. Tickets for that lap. But Draycott, hopefully, I really want this man to improve. I mean, we look at it and we go, oh, 1.9 seconds with the pace. This is split 1.
Yeah.
So these guys are proper quick. I mean, I don't even think I'd be able to do some of these lap times in the dry, never mind in the wet. But Joe Macaulay, 128.3. Well, I think he's just gone to 128.2.
Yeah, 284.
It's just...
It's phenomenal.
It looks like the 20 kilos is helping him as opposed to hampering him at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you know, it may sort of weigh the car down to the road a bit better. Maybe press it onto the tarmac a bit better. You never know. And this is Errol Verve. We didn't see much, if any, of him in the first race. To be honest with you, one of the 2 Audis out there. Almost forgot that Errol was in the first race, in all honesty, but he was there. So we'll keep an eye on him now. Tell you what, it gives me an excuse to go on board with the Audi, doesn't it, and listen to the wonderful V10 scream as he goes down Pilgrim's Drop then, up towards Hawthorne. Very difficult corner to get right. Long right-hander, late apex. Oh, he's gone a bit wide there. But it keeps the tyres cool, doesn't it, going a little bit offline there onto the wet stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these tyres, like you said, the wet tyres are very, very sensitive to temperature increase or decrease. So when they do get a bit hot, you run a little bit into the water. They need water to run. That's what they're designed for. So into the puddles a bit and keeps the tyres nice and cool. It keeps them working. But there's that into the camber coming towards you there that you were talking about. It actually helps you turn the car through. Oh! That could have been unfortunate and ruined what could have been a decent lap for Errol.
I think that was it Christian Bianchi doing that in the Porsche. I don't think he saw the Audi coming, but it was an improvement by Verve, and he goes up to 16th place. And it's now championship leader Christian Bianchi and Probst that are on their fast laps now with 3.5 minutes left to go. Verve puts it in the gravel and gets it out of the way. That's how you do it, Christian. But the championship leader at the moment, I believe, I'm going to just sort of poke Michael verbally. He actually has given us the details. I'm just in the wrong Discord chat. He says he needs to gain 7 points on Van der Velde and 16 points on Beavis to become the very first SimGrid Pro Sprint Cup champion. So, he's got to get the job done in this race. But at the end of the day, even if he doesn't get it done in this one, he's got 2 more races in the final race meeting in 2 weeks' time where he could clinch it then. So, I think it's just about maybe damage limitation here if he doesn't get the result he wants, because he's down in 11th on the grid at the moment, Kyle.
But we did see that in qualifying for race 1. He sat down outside the top 10 for quite some time, and then what a catch. What was that?
Wow.
That was superhuman.
How do you catch this? Let's just see that again. Clips the grass, clips the gravel. It's almost gone twice, and he somehow manages to collect it. And again, he's on the curbs as well. He doesn't care, this man, does he? He's just absolutely going for it. It shows you why he's right up there in the championship, doesn't it, with car control like that? Look at him.
Yeah, I think his steering wheel just turns 5 times further than anybody else's, because it didn't even look like he got out of the power there to catch that guy. He just stayed, when in doubt, keep it flat out, and give it some steering input. So, but as I was saying before, I was totally blown away by that wonderful save. He sat down outside the top 10 for most of the qualifying one, and then all of a sudden popped up in the top 3. So he does have the capability of throwing a proper fast lap together. But with only 1 minute and 48 seconds left to go, it's kind of do or die at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's going to get this lap and one more if he stays out. But the thing is, the tyres will be a little bit worn out come this next lap. Out of Surtees, car wiggles a little bit there. Bit of a wobble as he gets on the power. You can see there is a dry line forming, I should say. So it's maybe not helping the cars as much. This is Tinko van der Velde. He's just coming around to the end of his lap, and he is currently a 10th up at the moment. This could put him right near pole. Gornakia, by the way, is only 39 thousandths off Joe McCauley, so he's really got the pace in this second session. Then there's half a second between Van der Velde and Beavis, so these top 4 really showing him how it's done now. It looks like he's lost a bit of that time, has Van der Velde, and he does improve. It's identical times to Thibaut Prost. We've seen it again. Christian Bianchi, by the way, was 4/10 up on his lap. He's now only 1/10 up as he goes through clearways. Let's see what his exit's like. Seems okay. It's staying at 1/10 of a second improvement, though. He hugs the inside a little bit towards the line. And that tiny improvement there, Kyle, gets him up 4 places, up into 8th position. What a brilliant change of fortune there for him.
Yeah, he's going to have to find a little bit more there to get himself a little bit further up the field. But Kieran Prendergast, a creature of habit, still in 7th and 8th as he was in the first qualifying. But I do expect Bianchi with 1 more lap to go, if he doesn't have traffic, to move up a little bit further. But Kieran, we do know, has some phenomenal race pace, though.
He does indeed. We saw just how quick that Ferrari was at the end. Michael is feeding us stats once again. Thank you very much, Michael. They taste fantastic. He says Bianchi's worst result this season was the very first race, P5 at Zolder. Since then, he's been on the podium at every race, including 3 wins. And he was P2 in both races at the Hungaroring, but P1 was a reserve driver, so Bianchi got handed the win. So, yeah, he's certainly got the talent. Beavis and Cruiser, by the way, 5th and 6th, are separated by 0.03 of a second. Although Beavis is about to improve, this will, I think, keep him in 5th. It does, but he's only 0.3 off the top spot now. Who else is improving? Van der Kokelt, he is 0.1 of a second up, and again, we could see him jump up a couple of positions here. He goes up to 7th. Look at that. And identical times to Cruiser as well. So, because he set the time second, he loses, well, doesn't lose the place, but he sits behind Cruiser. But wow, more identical times. 4 cars in the top 7 have set identical times to each other. That's absolutely bonkers.
That absolutely blows my mind.
I can tell.
I've got nothing to say to that. But it's crazy to see it once every now and again. We've seen it in 2 different qualifying sessions in one event, and in this one 4 times.
It's scary, isn't it? Here we go then. Time to get them on the grid, and yep, it doesn't look like that car's floating in the air, doesn't it? It's just up on the jacks at the moment as they change part of the setup, and it levels off, obviously, because Brands Hatch is not quite straight, has a slight camber to it, to say the least. However, we have another grid before us then, Kyle, with a lot of Porsches, and most of them near the front, but it's that Lexus of Joe McCauley again, pole position, and it's looking like he's quite untouchable tonight. Do you reckon he can get 2 out of 2 wins?
Oh, the way he drove away from the field in the first race, I don't doubt it for a second that he's going to be able to drive away. If you asked me that at the start of the first race, I would have said, look, I think if he keeps it neat and tidy, he should be able to maintain a position. I didn't expect him to run away because the times were so close and quality. But we saw the minute he got the hammer down and put his head down, he started eking that gap out exponentially, quite easily throughout the half an hour race. So I don't see anybody finding that kind of pace in him, especially not race pace. We've seen how whirly and squirrely the Porsches get, sort of mid-distance. So and the Lexus just looked like it was. It didn't even look like he was trying to drive it hard the entire race.
Yeah, that's it. It didn't look like he overdrove it at all. The car just took it all in its stride, and so did he as well. He did a really, really good job, and I think we're going to see it again, to be honest. So we'll have to see, but we've got stats coming through from Michael again. If Bianchi has a blinder and wins the race, and Beavis and Van der Velden finish 5th or lower, Bianchi would be champion. So there is the gauntlet that has been thrown down. And 20 kilos ballast on that car of Joe McCauley, and he was only 18 thousandths of a second slower. That says a lot, doesn't it, Kyle? Just shows you how good he is. And how good that Lexus is in the wet, I must say.
Yeah, it's 20 kilos. Well, like I said, in the wet, 20 kilos can actually, it does give a bit of a gain as well as a hamper, so I think kind of evens itself out.
Yeah.
It does give you more traction with the corners. It'll allow more weight transfer onto the front wheels so you can get the car turned in faster. And I know it sounds, people are probably sitting at home who don't do some racing are thinking, what are these guys talking about? It's a video game. The physics of the game really do take that into account. And, the formulas written to do that are pretty spot on.
They are. They really are. We'll go through the grid then. Joe McCauley, as we've been discussing, is on pole position with Giorgio Cornacchia alongside him for GTWR team. Thibaut Propst him 3rd. Tinko van der Velde is 4th. I'm sorry, everyone. Michael will fire me eventually. Matt Beavis is in 5th position with Lucas Cruiser in 6th, just behind him. Then it's Niels van der Kokelt in the bottom right of your shot, with Kieran Prendergast in that pesky Ferrari in 8th place. Watch out for him coming through. He's very quick. Christian Bianchi, championship leader at the moment, is in 9th place on the grid. But he needs to win this race to claim the championship, and isn't it a good thing these cars go through each other? Boris Desprez. We're not going to lose him in Desprez because there is no Desprez. Pasquale Minotti is 11th in the Triple One car, so all of the number ones for him except for the race win. David Planiol is in that red Aston Martin there for Race for Cat in the number 7 machine. He's got Emil Stanciu behind him in the Porsche, number 23, and then Marco Bischoff in the 777 is 14th. We then have Tim Troquet, number 288 Aston Martin, ahead of Owen Wenlock, also in an Aston Martin for Sidemax Motorworks. Behind them is Errol Verve, didn't see much of him in race 1. And then once again, it's the two McLarens stuck together, Jack Noller and Sebastian, his handler, in 19th. And then Alexander Draycott is in the pit lane still. I don't think he's quite getting on with these wet conditions here on this one, Kyle. He had a bit of a nightmare in practice before qualifying, and then it's probably a bit of frustration at this point.
Yeah, I think he's realised it's not the conditions for him. I saw Tim Troquet giving him a little bit of revving in the chat as well. So I think he's just a little bit. We've got a word in South Africa called "gutful" of the wet weather. So he's given it in and packed it in, but terrible to see. As they round the last corner, though, I'll hand it over to you to get us through to the start and get this race underway.
So Macaulay and Cornacchia, front row of the grid together. The track is still wet and it's still nice and cool. They're going very slowly indeed. There you can see Draycott in the pit lane. He's probably stood on the pit wall with a great view of it. I hope he's got an umbrella, because none of the people on the pit wall have. How brave are they? But it's Joe Macaulay versus the world when it comes to the Porsches, and that Audi of Thibaut Probst. And the second race here tonight in the SimGrid Pro Sprint Cup at Brands Hatch is underway. And it's a great start down the inside from Joe Macaulay, and Probst is going to try and get in there as well, but he's side by side with Van der Velde, so he cannot fight too much with him there. We're just having a look at the background. Oh, that's the 777. That is Marco Bischoff that went around. There's a bit of friendliness going on here in the hairpin at Druids. And Lucas Cruiser through the middle, trying to get past the number 97. That is the Aston Martin. Sorry, the 47. It's Van der Kokel, isn't it? I was looking for a 97 and thinking, what am I on about? Oh, we've got the Aston in the background. I believe that's Planiol going off. Prendergast is watching this as well, but look at this. The championship leader, Christian Bianchi, he is on the back of all of these guys now, trying to make a place, but a bit wobbly on the grass there out of Surtees, and he's lost a lot of momentum here, Kyle, but a few cars just dotting off here and there, but not too bad as this race gets underway.
Yeah, far cleaner start than race 1. There's a little bit of dogfighting going on between Prendergast and Van der Kokel. Prendergast running very wide into the grass. That could have been both cars out there quickly, but great save from both these drivers. A lot of room given. And as I say that, Van der Kokel just shows Prendergast where the grass is and just says, listen, mate, I've had enough of you being on my outside. Get off, please. I want to carry on.
It's like, just leave me alone. I want to run my own line. So Bianchi gets through then, and he now gains a place. So he will be very happy with that. A bit further up, though, Beavis is all over the back of Van der Velde, and he's got Porsches ahead and behind him, so he's got not really too much to worry about. But Joe Macaulay, end of lap 1 then, leads the way. Cornacchia in second with Probst in third. Van der Velde, Beavis, Cruiser, Van der Kokel, Bianchi, Prendergast and Wenlock is your top 10. Good to see Owen Wenlock up there in the top 10 as well. A DNF in race 1, so he's going to want as many points as possible for this one. Just ahead of him, Prendergast is all over the back of Christian Bianchi. Will go on board with the Ferrari and just see how he sees it from there, because it still looks like quite the train in front of him here, Kyle. It's not too compressed, but this is the point in the race when you need to get stuff done while the field is still a bit closer together, isn't it?
Yeah, if you want to start making moves and moving up and being aggressive, now's the time you have to do it. Bianchi maybe just got a little bit too aggressive, and that's why he fell back into the clutch of Prendergast. But we know Prendergast has got race pace, especially towards the end of the race in comparison to the drivers in front of him. So if you can just stay in touch, and hopefully this field doesn't spread out too much, he could find himself moving a few places up. But the aggression seems to have calmed down. Everybody seems to be settling down a bit and starting to get into their rhythm for the 27 minutes left of race 2 here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, I think that from the first race they learned it's not the sort of conditions to go aggressive at the very beginning. They just need to make sure that the tyres last come the end, because we saw some of the guys that pushed the tyres early on and the car was absolutely destroyed by the end of it. It was honestly like it was a shopping trolley. It just would not do what they wanted it to. We're on board now with Thibaut Probst in the Audi. He's in third position at the moment for Santalok Racing, and he's looking back at the number 66 of Tinko van der Velde, and then behind him is Beavis, and then Cruiser, and then Van der Kokel. And if we go on board with Christian Bianchi, Prendergast is still all over the back of him in that Ferrari, so this battle has not gone away. Prendergast certainly hasn't gone away. He's stuck there. So too is Wenlock, and then Minotti's in there as well, and so too is Emil Stanchu.
Yeah, so what was only 2 cars battling for position is now turning into a little bit of a party. We've got a few crowding. It's probably the best example of crowding I've seen from that of Minotti and Wenlock. So Wenlock just trying to intimidate Minotti into backing out of that. It worked. So Minotti decided against that move, but he does have a good run down the straight here. But does the Porsche have the legs on the Aston Martin? It does not. But Emil Stanchu, best seat in the house. Pay a couple of pounds for this seat to watch this racing from this perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great view, and it shows you just how pretty Assetto Corsa Competizione is as well, and the sounds and just the whole immersion of it is just absolutely phenomenal. It really is a lot more immersive than any other sim I've used before. Jack Noller here, just looking in his mirrors with David Planiol. David went off on the first lap, and now he fills the mirrors of Noller. He's down the inside onto the brakes, and through goes, not quite 007, but 07. The Aston Martin making up a place. We look back at our race leader then, Joe McCauley. He is currently 1.2 seconds ahead of Giorgio Cornacchia in the Porsche, and that Lexus is looking good again. He just needs to keep it on the black stuff. Same too with Probst, because if he does, he's on his way to a podium. But you've got to worry for Van der Velde here, because he's now starting to have the train develop behind him, and that's Matt Beavis as well, who's one of his rivals in the championship. So this could have implications here, Kyle, as Beavis tries it into Surtees.
Yeah, you've got to start thinking about the long haul here. It's round 4. Silly moves and silly defensive is not going to be a good thing towards the championship. But Van der Velde keeping it nice, neat and tidy. As I said, he moves. Much of a passing opportunity there for him. And that little look actually cost him a car length and possibly a move into turn 1. You've got to set up your move a couple of corners beforehand. But the slipstream effect will help him. But will help him enough to get that car either down the inside or have a lunge around the outside.
Yeah, that's it. He needs to just make sure that he concentrates on his own lines. It's very easy to drive while looking in your rearview mirror and make some mistakes. Apologies for a little drop out of the stream there, everybody. It seems that OBS had an issue, which I've not had for a very long time, actually. I've been quite blessed recently with the quality of my internet connection, which is usually terrible, so thank you, Vodafone. But this little 4-car battle at the moment with Van der Kokelt at the back, it's all red and black cars other than Beavis. They're all actually Sidemax Motorworks cars, aren't they? In the form of Van der Kokelt, Cruiser and Van der Velde, I think. Cruiser is Sidemax Motorworks as well. Yeah, so is Van der Velde. So it's Beavis feeling like the odd one out a little bit here. But the Team Rookie Monsters driver doing a great job. And when they go offline like that, Kyle, I think they're just trying to cool the tyres down a little bit, I think. We've seen a lot of them doing it down towards Hawthorne there and then towards Clearways at the final corner, because they've just got that bit of straight circuit. And so long as no one's close enough to make a move, they may as well just try and get a bit of water on the tyres, just cool them down that extra bit, because we saw in race 1, it's difficult to make the tyres last the whole race here in these conditions.
Yeah, it looks like the only car that was managing to do it was that of McCauley in the Lexus. Not that he had to push too hard, but the man there that we're looking at in third, Probst, he looked like he was one of the worst off towards the end of the race. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses. But close enough to have a look now is Beavis. The slipstream will pull him in, but a good car length is still the gap. So I don't think he'll be brave enough to lunge it down the inside from there, especially not into this very tricky right-hander that is turn 1 here at Brands Hatch. The big lunges, though, do come here into turn 2. I think this is Druids. But every time you say OBS, big mistake there for Van der Kokelt. He ran wide. He's lost a lot of time. But every time you mention OBS, I can only think of Old Brown Sherry, which is exactly what I'd have in my hand. I would definitely have in my hand if I was standing in the rain here watching this racing.
For sure, mate, for sure. I'd probably join you on that as well, to be honest. We've got a 15-second penalty for David Planiol, and he's given himself his own sort of penalties there, driving across the grass. He's probably thinking, how do we get rid of it? The 85 got a drive through, Errol Verve, for a dangerous rejoin. And Michael is still typing, so we will have an update for why Planiol's got this. It was for the collision with the number 7. And it's a shame, but
he is number 7.
Sorry, the 85. Sorry, that's why he had it. with the collision with Verve, but then Verve rejoined very dangerously, it seems. So they both lost out. Verve a bit more potentially for that incident, but you know, if you're going to rejoin, you need to make sure you do that safely. So here is your race leader then coming towards us with 21 minutes left to go in this race. Joe McCauley, seems like a bit of a walk in the park for him at the moment. It may be a wet park, and it's not a circuit with the word park in the name, but still, he's doing a hell of a job. And so too is Giorgio Cornacchia and Thibaut Props. The two of them were up there in race 1, and they're doing it again in race 2 here, but they're following the formation that I always talk about on the sim grid, Kyle, where drivers that are either 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, they just have these under-the-radar performances where they don't battle anybody, and they just cross the line and just get it done. And I think that this is a prime example of it once again here, as Planiol is in the pits and gone by the look of it. Planiol not happy with that. So
was that Bianchi going off?
It was Bianchi going off. He had a bit of a mistake there. We'll go back. A bit of a wobble out of Graham Hill Bend, and he did a great job. We've seen him sliding that car around, haven't we? He did a great job not to have that completely spin around on him there.
Yeah, the car control of this man is next level from Christian Bianchi. I mean, if you actually watch him after the flag, it really does look like a Formula Drift competition. As I speak of it, it's almost like he's watching the stream. But he does throw that car around, and he does get some fast lap times out of it while doing it. But he's lost a position there to Kieran Prendergast. Kieran having a much better race than he had in the previous race, and not having to fight his way up from 18th. He's now in 8th with 19 minutes left to go, and we know that Ferrari is very kind to its wet weather tyres, and that gap to Fanny Kokalt isn't very big at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one to watch at the end. Maybe a top 5 as things stand, because he's got he's got a bit of a gap to make up, but to get anywhere closer to the guys ahead of that, it may be a bit more of an ask, because as we all know, the further up a field you get when you're trying to close down a gap or catch people up, it just gets more and more difficult each car that you overtake, because usually they're quicker and quicker and getting further and further away from each other. So we'll keep an eye on Prendergast, and Bianchi in the background. Well, he is an Italian, and they're known for being flamboyant and entertaining, and he's certainly he's proving that at the moment, isn't he, Kyle? But he's still doing the job and getting the points for the championship.
Yeah, I don't think 9th place points is what he would have wanted in round 4. I think he would have liked to pull a Hamilton and call it quits at the penultimate round, but unfortunately 9th isn't going to do that for him, especially with his 2 championship rivals ahead of him at the moment. But he does have 2 more races to call it, or to round it up as a championship winner. But I think slipping and sliding and throwing the back end around like he does, it really makes me nervous to watch.
I was just waiting for it to come out of the right-hander out of Westfield. That's pretty scary stuff through there. And then Sheen Curve as well into the left-hander at Sterling's. Great corner, Sterling's, because so much grip comes to you because of the camber that we were mentioning before. And on the exit, it just gets away from you. But if you're in a car like the Porsche, where you can really hang it out a little bit, as we've seen Bianchi doing, it's just so much fun and so rewarding on the exit. So long as you don't get too much grass, you're pretty much turning right on the exit, because it goes over a slight bump and a slight crest. It's a hell of a fun circuit to drive around here, and in these cars as well, which are so demanding and so fast around here. The lap times, I mean, they're under 1.5 minutes in the wet. It's very impressive pace. But yeah, Brands Hatch is one of those classic circuits, I think, that it accommodates for a lot. It may have a very tiny paddock on the infield and a large paddock on the out of the circuit, which is very different to most tracks that you see around the world, but it's just got so much character, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just a lot of the British circuits have that. I think, I mean, they're all the old school type circuits, you know, proper runoffs and sand traps, and walls a little closer than I think the FIA would like. But it is one of those old school circuits with a lot of character, nice and narrow, nice, undulating corners. So it's always interesting to watch a race here and actually drive the circuit as well. It's just, it keeps you busy all the way through.
Yeah, that's it, and it's got a mixture of everything when it comes to fast corners that are going uphill, fast corners going downhill. You've got blind corners, you've got on camber, off camber, over the crest, and then a humongous hill as turn 1, of course, which is Paddock Hill Bend. And just looking at Van der Velde there, he's opened up this gap to Beavis now, and then Cruiser as well has dropped off quite a bit from the other Porsche, so it is spreading out a bit at the front here. We've got Prendergast 0.8 of a second though behind Van der Kokelt. So this Ferrari, once again, with Prendergast at the wheel, is on a mission here, and I think it's already to the point now, nearly halfway through the race, where it's starting to show that it's looking after its tyres.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how quick these wet tyres switch off. I'd hate to be in an endurance race where it's wet for a long period of time in a GT3 car, looking at how quickly these tyres are going off. 15 minutes or 14 minutes into the race, and we can see which manufacturer is looking after his tyres better already.
I'm just watching that Aston dance around a tiny little bit, but it gets a good drive off the corner though. We'll have to see who starts cooling their tyres on the right hand side and staying in the wetter part of the track. Looks like Prendergast though, he wants to really push, and the body language of this car, I mean, we've seen it from the outside and the inside now, and it just looks so aggressive, doesn't it? It looks like he's really pushing. Yeah,
it does look like he's on rails though. I mean, normally when you see a driver push, you see the thing dance around all over the place, and the front and rear move and skip and jump and you know, almost slide across the circuit as opposed to follow a racing line. But out of all the cars that I've been watching throughout both race 1 and race 2, his does seem to be the most planted besides that of McCauley, but it just doesn't have the pace in the beginning of qualifying. A mistake obviously from Beavis, because he's dropped down behind Cruiser and is now in the clutches of this battle of Van der Koekout and Prendergast. So Prendergast, a big smile on his face, because this may slow Van der Koekout down and make a move for him a little bit easier. We don't see a lot of moving around for where they look at those cars dance over that curb. It's just so unnerving. I mean, I freak out every time a race car in sim steps out. Never mind in the real world. But these guys definitely have it under control. Split 1, the fastest of the bunch in terms of the 5 splits we have here. Some good mistake again from Beavis. That Porsche's tires are definitely going over. But Van der Koekout down the inside. This is going to allow Prendergast to get close and possibly get a run down the long straight. Who's he going to pick for a slip? He's just staying out of it now and waiting for these two to trip over each other and pick up places for next to nothing. Yeah, he's waiting for the freebies. Beavis has to take a compromised line through Hawthorne, through the right-hander, and all over the back of him now. Van der Koekout looking racy. Prendergast, I don't know, he's been aggressive before and really pushing, but I'm not sure. I think you're right here, Kyle. I think he might just wait for the opportunity, because he knows that if he goes down the inside of Van der Koekout while he's still behind Beavis may open up the gap and start to get away again. So he can't take too much risk here. He needs to be careful with this. But of course, Beavis is in the fight for the championship. He was second in the championship coming into this meeting. So he can't give it away either. But seems he's got back into a little bit of a rhythm now, and Prendergast is feeling the need to show his nose to Van der Koekout and potentially line up a move here. But this battle's going to get more and more interesting as it goes on, because as we've said, the Ferrari looks after his tyres. So over the end of the race, that thing may be a bit more lively, let's say. Yeah, it might actually just be Prendergast looking after him as well, because he is showing the nose, but it's not to have a lunge. It's just to let the Aston Martin of Van der Koekout know that he is there and is ready to have a go. But if he doesn't get one done soon, Beavis is going to get back into his rhythm and start opening the gap up. But he already has started doing that over the Aston Martin of Van der Koekout. So there's no time like the present for Prendergast to get that move done and dusted and get past the Aston Martin ahead of him. But the Aston Martin is very quick in a straight line. You can see it drive 2 car lengths away from that Ferrari. As we go back to Emil Stancio, he is just off the back of Wedlock. I've been watching this gap come down. It has come down from 0.7 down to 0.3. But behind him, Bianchi was in front of these two. He's now dropped down behind them. So another mistake from Bianchi, and he's down into 11th. Yeah, we were saying earlier that he needed to win this race with the others 5th and no higher than that. But it's gone the opposite way for him at the moment, down in 11th place. So he's having a bit of a nightmare as the championship starts to wrap up. Only 2 races after this in 2 weeks' time, so he's going to feel the pressure in those 2 weeks, I'm sure, and he's going to be hoping for more out of this. This, of course, is teammate, though, Emil Stancio. They're both Racing Line Motorsport drivers, so maybe we might see his teammate let him through come the end of the race, but you never know. We've seen team orders before, and then we've seen team orders not happen before because of certain situations. You never know when they're going to happen, but
This is now changed around. Prendergast has got past Van der Kokel. So Prendergast up to 7th place. And now he wants to chase after Beavis for 6th position. Van der Velde, by the way, is now in 3rd place behind Props. Kornakia has dropped to 4th. So there's been a few little goings on here under the radar. There's a bit of damage to the front of that Porsche as well. And Prendergast did it on the outside of Sterling's for P7. That was amazing. What a place to get that move done. But yeah, Kornakia, he was nice and tidy earlier, but it seems like he's dropped the ball somewhere.
Maybe just a little bit of an error made by him, or maybe even contact with Props could have caused some sort of damage to the front of that car. But Van der Velde definitely with a big turn of pace here on Props as they head down into turn 1. You see here now, I don't know whether he's looking down the inside of cooling tires anymore. But it does definitely look like he's showing the nose and showing the lights. That Porsche, the lights are ablaze. Just to put Props under a little bit of pressure. Let him know that he's there. Let him know that he's close as he gets right under the rear wing of that Audi. We did mention, we did talk about the end plates of that Audi and then how it clips over the top. Thankfully, though, because that Porsche got so close, it could have taken the rear wing off. Heading down now into the left hand. He's got the inside line. He's having a look. But not close enough to get the lunge done on the Audi. And he doesn't compromise his drive too badly. We do know that the Porsche accelerates very well. But Audi definitely gets to stretch his legs towards the end of the straight. As we see it there. They were right on top of each other. And now it's up to a car length or 2 as they head through the fast sweeping section here at the back of the circuit.
Prendergast, by the way, is going around the outside of Beavis at Hawthorne. I was expecting to see them near each other, not side by side. But look at this from Prendergast around the outside of Westfield as well. A little bit of contact puts him wide as well. And here comes Van der Kokel. He tries to go down the inside of Beavis now as well. That doesn't work for him. Prendergast is now back down to 8th position. Or is he? He says, nope, I don't want to be here. This is not how it's meant to go. He's trying to now go around the outside of Sterling's. Takes a wide line. Tries not to compromise his run, but he's done exactly that, I'm afraid. And Beavis manages to hold on for another day. But for how long, though, Kyle? Because Van der Kokel is looking very racy all of a sudden. Now he's been given that second chance. He's not going to waste it.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a second win going here. Prendergast, a little bit silly for me to try and go around the outside of that section and actually turn it in that early and try and squeeze the driver on the inside. The result was inevitable there. Prendergast was going to run out of road and end up on the outside. So, unfortunately, a bit of bravery. Call it bravery or call it what you want, but it didn't work out in his favor as Prost has now fallen down behind Van der Velde. So Van der Velde with a proper turn of pace at the moment, and he got the move done on the exit there and on the run up into Druids. Job done quite easy as you like.
Although he went a bit deep into Druids, I was going to say it looked like Prost was still very close to the back of him. I wanted to see how much of a fight he put up there, and it just seems that after they got out of Druids, yeah, he just couldn't quite get anything back from Van der Velde. And the Side Max Motorworks driver now up into 2nd place overall here and starting to pull away from the Audi. We will go back to this though. Beavis, Van der Kokel and Prendergast. This fantastic battle still going on here as the track gets wetter and wetter at Brands Hatch.
Ooh.
That was very, very sideways there for Beavis. And the car just sort of floated over the top of the hill, didn't it? And we've seen that from the Porsche, haven't we, around here? The back end of it does get away on initial turning, as I was saying before. And over any of these corners that are over a crest, such as this at Clearways, the car just seems to be floating sideways everywhere.
Yeah, it almost looks like the back steps out in the beginning and it almost turns into a 4-wheel drift on the exit. So you want the car to be slightly off the outside of the track, and it actually ends up being that you almost end up in the grass the way the car starts 4-wheel drifting. But if any time there was to make a move, it's now. He is super close to that of Beavis, trying to go around the outside of him now through Druids. Prendergast as well, though, having a look. So, contact between the two of them when the Aston Martin got a slide. Down the inside goes Prendergast. Is he going to get that car stopped and turned and stop the cutback? He isn't. He tried to stop it on the apex and force the Aston Martin to run into the back of him instead of running down the inside. But Prendergast again trying to go around the outside and get that turn in, and he ends up turning into the car next to him. So almost like the radar. No need to flash your lights there, Kieran. That was all on you, mate.
Well, I think in the initial one, it was Van der Kokel losing the back end of the car. Kieran was following very closely. Just gave him a bit of a tap, and in that one there, Van der Kokel ran wide, and like you say, Kieran just didn't accommodate for it. and turned in where he normally would. But I think, to be fair, most of us would, but I think he just needed to keep an eye on it a bit more. Down the inside and Sheen curve, that's not going to work there. All this time, though, Beavis is opening up this gap, so these pair need to try and work together now, but I think there's not going to be any love lost come the next corner or so. Prendergast out of shape, and he's lost that gap once again, so now things do settle down slightly, as much as they ever will here. If we look at 16th and 17th, by the way, these two Porsches having a battle. This is Draycott and Display. Still no spray on circuit, so we can see Display. Nice little cutback there from him on the exit of Hawthorne, down the inside into Westfield. And he gets that move done on the number 55. Joe McCauley is still in this race, by the way, everybody. He's just so far ahead that we've not seen him for a little bit. And that Lexus tonight has just been an absolute miracle on wheels, hasn't it, Kyle?
Yeah, it's so easy for him to get around the circuit. I mean, it's 7 seconds to Van der Velde. It's not the biggest gap he's had. We've seen it obviously bigger by this time of race 1. With 5 minutes left to go, I think we're sitting at 13 seconds with this gap. So the rest of the field has obviously woken up a bit to the Lexus. But that thing still just looks like it's glued to a set of rails. And he's going around for a little Sunday afternoon. Send him a text message. I bet he'll reply.
Yeah, probably. Probably pull over and reply as well, just so he's not on his phone while he's driving. Van der Velde, though, again, just one of these drivers that's just getting the points and scoring what he needs to. We need to have a little look at Christian Bianchi. Oh, well, yeah, of course it's Bianchi and he's sideways when we come to him. 11th position at the moment, not really improving as things stand. He's actually lost time to his teammate ahead. Last time round he was 1 second slower than Emil Stanchu. So he's not making that gap up. Prendergast is now still chasing down Van der Kokelt. He's back onto the rear of the Aston Martin, so he's made up for that mistake a lap ago. And it's a shame, really, isn't it? Because we were saying how fast Kieran is, and he's showing us that he's rapid, but just when he gets his elbows out a little bit in these battles, it's just a little bit scrappy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think just a little bit of over-ego and over-aggression. I think he knows how fast he is and how much further up the field he could have gone as we watched that Aston Martin deep on the brakes into turn 1 there. But he just gets a little bit overexcitable and wants to get moves done too early.
Is that Bianchi?
Sideways.
Oh, no, it's Stanchu. Whoa, they look the same, so I thought it was Bianchi. But, I mean, even still, Stanchu, real shame for him to lose that, because he was on for a good top 10 finish there, and now he's lost out for that, I'm afraid. But the number 23 losing it down the hill, and we've seen a lot of cars do that there, haven't we? It's not an easy corner paddock hill bend. There's so much elevation change, and then the compression at the bottom as well. And bearing in mind it's in the wet, it's almost an impossible corner.
Yeah, look, I don't think that was Stansu getting it wrong. I think the team manager's got the e-brake on a button in the pits and thought he'd just give it a squeeze to get Bianchi past.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Emil obviously not listening to team orders, so unfortunate there for him. No, that corner is incredibly difficult to do. So again, the Porsches towards the end of the race do look super untidy. As we see your Beavis, he had the pace to get away from this group earlier on, and now he's struggling just to keep the car on the circuit as they head into this tight left-hand. Yeah, you can see the camber change from on board. Kieran Prendergast, though, just missing that little camber change. It does pull you through the corner, so it's quite important to get the car onto the apex there. More important than most corners around the circuit. So just missing it, not close enough though. But we can watch the Aston Martin get a strong run down towards turn 1. It looks like Beavis is wise to it. He goes deep to the inside. That's gonna hamper both their exits. And we can see 3 and big slide there from the Porsche. As I said, the back end getting very untidy. Prendergast on the wrong side. He needs to go to the inside. He does that quite well. They get on the power and nice and hard and early. Prendergast hasn't got the move done yet. There's contact before they come down towards the right left-hander. More so because the track actually changes direction. And once again, Prendergast just getting shown the outside of the circuit. But if you want to be on the outside and behind the car that you're trying to get past, if he does take his line, you're going to get shown the outside. So
yeah,
Prendergast just flashing lights all the time instead of accepting the fact that he needs to go the opposite direction. He does that now. Not going to get it done in there, though.
Oh, they closed up quite a lot on the brakes, though. Van der Kokelt, he's been very aggressive with his defence, and now he's been aggressive with his attack on Beavis, and Beavis cannot do anything about it. Where are you going, Niels? He was in a different postcode then. He was all over the shop. Cut lots of the inside of the grass. As he gets into the back of Beavis, there's a tap, and then Prendergast's going to get involved as well. Van der Kokelt gets out of it to make sure that he doesn't pass with the contact. And again, Prendergast turns in, makes contact with the car on the inside. Van der Kokelt comes through on the left-hand side. Now he's side-by-side with Beavis. All this time we've got Owen Wenlock in the background. Kornacki and Cruiser have cleared off away from these guys now, and they're still side by side out of clearways. Prendergast looking down the inside in the Ferrari. Don't make it through. Why? He makes contact with Beavis, who's in the wall. And Prendergast, I'm sorry, the over-aggression there has got the better of him, and he really didn't need to make contact there. We'll have to.
It looked like he wanted to go for a bump draft.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, gave him a little bit too much.
Oh, it was such a shame, man. It didn't need to happen. Again, contact didn't need to happen. And can you believe this? Joe McCauley is now on the final lap of the race. This one has absolutely flown by. He's got 9 seconds over Van der Velde. And that isn't the second place car behind. There is Van der Velde. Cruiser is up to 4th behind Thibaut Probst. But this battle still going on. Are we going to see a bit of aggression here from Prendergast?
Yeah, I think it's more frustration than aggression at the moment. As Joe McCauley starts rounding the... I think you'll have one more lap to go after this, or is this the final lap?
Yeah, the crew chief just came over the radio and says it was going to be the last lap, but this one will surely be the last lap. 20 seconds to go. I don't think it's going to take him 20 seconds to get to the line. So, Joe McCauley starts the final lap of the race, and for the second time tonight, he's in the lead when he does so. Keep an eye on this, though. There's a red and black Aston Martin either side of Kieran Prendergast, and, well, the one in front of him has been very elbows out, much as Kieran has in this race. I think we're ready for a showdown here between the pair of them on the final lap, but Kieran's got a bit of work to do yet if he's going to catch him, hasn't he?
Yeah, that gap has grown. It looks like maybe a mistake from Prendergast. But it's definitely, I don't know if it's aggression and intentional aggression. I think it's very much more just frustration. We've seen him, the Aston Martin runs wide. He's in the gravel, and Prendergast gets the inside and drives straight past that of Niels van der Koekout. But I don't think Niels is going to take that one lying down. The gap, though, very big with 1 lap left to run.
And, well, keep an eye out, though, because Prendergast obviously made that contact earlier with Beavis. He could get a penalty for that. We often do see that the penalties come through a little bit after the incident has happened. But here's Joe McCauley up through Sheen Curve. Nice and tidy once again. And this Lexus, I mean, it doesn't usually look like your normal GT3 car, so you'd think it was in a different class. But the way Joe McCauley's driving it tonight, it really has been in a class of its own. It's going to be 2 out of 2 here at Brands Hatch in the Pro Sprint Cup here on the sim grid for Joe McCauley in the Tech 1 Racing Lexus. What a fantastic evening for him. Maximum points, fastest lap in both, pole position in both, and both race wins. Tinko van der Velde, second place, a great night of points for him. He'll be over the moon with that as Errol Verve drifts the Audi around. Thibaut Probst, props to you, my friend, in third position. Lucas Cruiser cruises across the line in fourth. Kornacki won't be so Kornackied after that one. That was quite an easy drive by the look of it. Prendergast, well, there may be a penalty afterwards for that, but look at those two. Van der Koekout and Owen Wenlock together over the line there, the two teammates, as Wenlock decides he doesn't want Aston Martin anymore, and he doesn't want to owe his team manager any money, but he will do if he puts it in the wall. Beavis will be disappointed after that one, but here is Chris Bianchi in his usual drifting then for you, Kyle. You can ogle at this, as I'm sure we'll all enjoy it.
I still can't believe I can't even keep this thing in a straight line. Yeah. We called it out. He knows we're watching. He's got a little bit of pressure on him now, and he just didn't get it quite right.
No.
So it is quite fun to watch Bianchi. Emil Stagio coming across 11th to K in 12th. Handler and Noller once again right by each other, 13th and 14th. Desprez, Minotti, Draycott, and Verve. But this man and this sliding, I can't believe.
Look at it. That's absolutely fantastic from Christian Bianchi. Wonderful car control. Absolutely wonderful. The stewards will be reviewing the post-race incident between Beavis and Prendergast and the pit wall. So do expect to see a result of that. No way, you're not going to get that right. Oh, he does as well. Oh, does he? Christian. Oh, Christian, no, stop it. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing stuff. And the thing is as well, he's doing this drifting. It's not like he's slowing it down and then speeding up. He's actually doing it as like sort of lift-off oversteer and like sliding it on the brakes. So, wow. Incredible stuff, though, from Christian Bianchi. And I'm sure he will still leave here as championship leader, but if in all honesty, he's not got a lot to be celebrating right now, because that wasn't his finest hour. That's actually his worst result of the season, and it opens things up for the other drivers in the championship fight. But Joe McCauley, 10.3 second win. I mean, let's just talk about Joe for a second in the Lexus, because what an incredible performance by him tonight.
Sorry, I was still watching Chris Bianchi do it into the pit lane as well. But great job. McCauley, the exact opposite of what we just saw from Bianchi. That car looked like it was almost glued to the track. It didn't show any form of a slide or hop or movement. So a very, very well set up car for these conditions. And he did a great job to drive it as well. I know we keep saying the car very good in the wet and the setup very good in the wet, but it takes someone to pedal it around as well. So great driving from him. He kept a clean, a calm head and didn't make any mistakes throughout the race. Van der Velde as well, great performance from him with props. I mean, Van der Velde, a very consistent performance as well. And that's what you need in a championship.
Yeah, definitely, that's it. You just need to hold on to that consistency and get the best out of the car over the whole night. We'll start with our wonderful interview process. We do like these interviews at the end of an evening, and someone that had a bit of a lively race in that one, a lively evening overall, but maybe not the most exciting of races, but a good result in race 2. Thibaut Probst joins us in the box. Thibaut, how are we doing, mate?
Hey, hi everybody. Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you.
Good
that was that was really interesting to race again with the wet conditions, and that was really nice to see that as well, because I was quite concerned about the BOP of the Audi on this track, so I was quite pleased to see the wet conditions basically.
Yeah, it was. It always throws up a different sort of order sometimes with these conditions, because while you usually get a set of drivers that are really quick just everywhere in the dry, the fact that there is rain and these wet conditions on a set of Corsa Competizione requires a different level of skill, doesn't it? And it certainly throws up some unexpected results.
Oh yeah, it's quite different, especially first the driving style you have to adapt. So basically you need to avoid the curbs and stuff like that, especially in the exit, to get as much traction as you can get from the asphalt inside of the curves, which is pretty slippery. And then the second thing is the setup, which is very different from the dry one, basically, for the Audi.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a lot of the cars out there were quite a handful tonight. Not many Audis in the field, though, so like you say, you were sort of concerned about the balance of performance, but it seemed to go pretty well in the rain, though. Is it a car that you've found does well in the wet usually, or do you reckon that it just suits this track in the wet?
No, I think it's quite a good car on the wet. It's pretty balanced. That's the first time, though, I'm doing like a 30-minute stint with the tires, and I think it's quite consuming the tires, though, because I was struggling like the last 10 minutes on each race. I was quite struggling, losing a lot of pace. I think it's a big part on myself, but I think the car is still eating the tires a bit.
Yeah, there was certainly some dodgy moments towards the end of the race from some drivers there, and I know that the conditions aren't the best for that, but it was still a very good performance from you tonight. Plenty of points on the board in the championship. Just before we let you go though, Thibaut, would you like to give anybody a shout out?
Yeah, I would like to say hello to Poca, and the only thing I would like to say as well is that I'm sorry for the contact on the 2 laps. I think it was 2 laps before the end. I'm quite sorry for the driver. I haven't seen the replay yet, but I think it's quite on my part, so I'm sorry for that.
That's fair enough, mate. Well, good on you for apologising. There are, as we all know, there's probably a lot of drivers in sim racing that don't really admit their mistakes, let's say, but it's good to see the sportsmanship, mate, and good to speak to you. And of course, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the final round.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. See you in Zandvoort. Bye bye.
Cheers. Thibaut Probst there, fantastic character and very good racer as well by all accounts. Someone else that was very, very fast out there this evening and having a lot of action in both races. Niels van der Kokelt joins us. Niels, that was certainly a lively evening for you in the Aston Martin.
Hello, lads. Good evening. Yeah, it was it was quite intense, to say the least. Yeah, amazing races. First race, guess I just had a very good start and then got lucky with Cornaccia making a mistake. I actually almost thought I would have gotten P3 there, but you know, Bianchi and Probst in front of me. It's not the least names to get around.
Yeah, very true.
And then the second race, it was just when it was madness. My car felt very, very different from the first race. So I was struggling quite a bit more. But yeah, just beautiful side-by-side action, a beautiful three-way fight. I'm not sure what happened with Prendergast and Beavis in the end on the straight. But yeah, that looked a bit weird. But apart from that, I think we had an amazing battle. Some very hard fighting, but as far as I could tell, it was all clean. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, really, because there were moments where there was a bit of contact here and there, but in these conditions, you know, the cars wobble around a lot, they run wide and they drift, and you can see that it's going to happen in these conditions, but it seemed like the pair of you were really making the most of it, and I know from sim racing myself that I bet the pair of you were probably laughing your heads off, weren't you, at all of that, because it looked very exciting.
Oh yes, yeah, I really enjoyed that. You know, I really hope that the fixed rain makes a comeback in the next season, because man, these conditions, they were very challenging, but so rewarding and so fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm very glad you did, mate. It was fantastic for us to watch up here as well, and you provided a lot of the entertainment tonight. You were one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting driver out there. So, very well done on you.
Liked it?
Oh yeah, it was epic, mate. Very epic. But well done on your results, of course. And before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody while you're on the stream?
Yeah, big shout out to Tinko van der Velde. 2 times the P2. We just got him on Sidemax, so yeah, really good to see him doing so well. And excited for seeing what the future brings. Also very excited for Zandvoort, given that it's my hometown. So it'll be a proper hometown race.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I hope it goes well for you. We'll certainly keep a very close, watchful eye on you. And, well, it leaves me just to say that we'll see you in 2 weeks' time, Nils. Thank you very much.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Cheers. And that, once again, brings us to the end of the evening here, Kyle. And to be fair, we'll get away from the nasty raining conditions, and we'll bring up the nice sunny image that we have for the thumbnail here for the Pro Sprint Cup. But just to round it out, mate, a fantastic evening of racing once again here from the Sim Grid. And, well, my first time commentating on this championship, and it was just a hell of a lot of fun. Because, I mean, I'm not sure if you agree, but I'm sure you will. The fact that the races are shorter means that the action happens in a much quicker time period.
Yeah, we do see a lot more aggressive driving, a lot more opportunistic overtakes, some a little bit too opportunistic, but that is the nature of sprint racing. And it never fails to disappoint here at the Sim Grid and with the Coach Dev Academy. It's always phenomenal. It's always great to be a part of, and half an hour goes by very, very quickly when commentating on a race with drivers as good, as close, and as aggressive as they are.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't believe that the night's already over. We've been streaming for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it feels like we've only just begun. So just goes to show how exciting this championship is, even from our side of things as well, from behind the broadcast and on the mics. But thank you once again, Kyle. Pleasure to commentate with you as always. And Michael, thank you very much for your information in the background as well. Actually, Michael, we'll ask you as well. What did you make of tonight, mate? The rain was quite a nice turn-up, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was nice to actually have some proper rain, some medium rain and wet track conditions. We've seen rain, I think we saw the rain in round 1 at Zolder and in round 2 in Misano, but it was very light rain, just a bit of drizzle. I remember Misano, it caused the track to drop from an optimum to a greasy track state, so it made it a little bit difficult initially as the grip just completely disappeared. And I think at Zolder it was the very first race, if I remember rightly, it was raining in the qualifying, and then pretty much it stopped after the first lap or so of the race. So this was the first real chance where the drivers had to actually drive in proper raining and wet conditions compared to so far this season.
And it certainly provided a hell of a lot of entertainment. But like I say, Michael, thank you very much for all of the info and all the help that you give us guys in the commentary box throughout. It's absolutely vital, and we wouldn't be without it, mate. Trust me, you are very much a star of this series, even if you aren't as much in the public eye as as on the stream or in one of the cars. But honestly, mate, you do a cracking job. And
thank you very much.
Not a problem at all. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time, I'm sure, of course. And next week as well for more female races. The next round of that championship from Misano, where Connell Courtney will be again joining us in the box if whoever it was that was fitting his gas today didn't cut through his Wi-Fi cable. So it just leaves me to...
Cup next weekend as well.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah, back at Nürburgring.
There's so much going on. Yeah, back at the Nürburgring. And we've seen amazing racing there so far from the sim grid, so I can't wait for more of that. But once again, thank you very much, Kyle. Thank you, Michael. My name is just Chaz Draycott. I don't know. It has been Chaz Draycott. I'm not sure what it'll be tomorrow. But thank you once again for tuning in to the Sim Grid. It's been another fantastic night of racing. And as we've said, we will see you next time round on the More Female Racer stream next Wednesday. But for now, have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll see you very soon.
Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines, but always know that you'll be safe. I'll be here throughout your days. Come find me and we will play.